Welcome back to the Ball Knowers podcast. I'm Jack Keating, here today to talk about some NBA draft grades for the or for the off season rather. Here with Chase Brostek. Chase, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Excited to finally do a podcast again. It's been a couple weeks now. We have
Yeah.
a whole lot to talk about. Gonna try to keep this to be a shorter podcast, not our typical 3.5 hours or whatever. But we're gonna go through every single team, talk about their draft, their offseason, additions, departures, everything, and give every single team a grade. So, no further ado, let's just get right into it. We could
All
start
right.
in alphabetical order. So I have the Atlanta Hawks first. They drafted Issa Newell at the 22nd pick in the first round. Obviously, they traded back with the Pelicans from 13, and they got the Pelicans slash Bucks best of swap for the next year's first round pick unprotected, which a lot of people seem to think is going to be an incredibly prized possession. Um, I like Jason Newell a lot, though. I think that just I think he's going to fit this team well. He doesn't have to play year one, but he's just an elite defender and great rebounder. I think he's going to be able to play that center position if Kristaps is a little questionable, especially after this next season, or he could play the four and be a backup for Jalen Johnson, whatever they want to do. Um, anything, we can go one by one. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I liked the Newell pick. I really liked the trade they made with the Pelicans. I think that's going to end up being really good for them. I think for the Pelicans, that's one of the worst draft night trades I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Um, I think an unprotected first for Derek Queen is kind of insane when you're already one of the worst teams in the league, and Zion's future is uncertain right now. You have a ton of injury-prone players. Probably going to be at the bottom of the Western Conference again next year, so your pick is very valuable. And to give it up for Derek Queen is really interesting to me. He would have to be a pretty special player to make that trade worth it,
Okay.
which I personally don't think he'll end up being. But I think from the Hawks' perspective, um, I think it's a great trade. I think you get a good player out of it, and I think next year you're probably going to get potentially a top five pick out of it. So I think they nailed the draft pretty well.
My gut reaction when it first happened was just like, why did this? Why did they trade that? But now, like I mean, I guess within a few days of after it happened, I didn't really think it was that bad of a trade. Like, I mean, I think it's definitely wasn't a great trade at all. I don't think the Pelicans won the trade or anything like that. But I think the Pelicans severely underperformed last season because of um, all the injuries that happened. The Dejounte Achilles tear and Zion missed a bunch of games, and then there were a bunch of shoulder injuries to everybody and whatever. Um, and so like I feel like if they were healthy, they could have been a solid team. Um, and I think that they can make the playoffs potentially next season, especially if Zion plays. Like if he's healthy, they're a good team. We've seen that in the past. As for the Bucks, um, it's a super weak East. I guess maybe the Pelicans thought that the Bucks will be a playoff team because of how weak the East is, and so this pick maybe will be a little less valuable than they expected it to be. Um, I definitely think it's risky. I'm a huge Derek Queen fan, so I didn't like. I maybe I'm just higher on him than most people, but I feel like um, it wasn't as bad as people are saying. Still saying it's not a great trade though. It's I don't I definitely think that the Hawks did well.
Yeah, just the fact that next year's pick is unprotected to me, that's just a horrible trade because the Pelicans, as good as their roster may seem, are one of the most volatile rosters in the entire league because of their injury,
Yeah, that's fair.
their likelihood of getting injured. Mm, like we don't really know how this Zion stuff is going to unfold. I haven't really seen anything about it,
Hmm.
so assuming he's going to be playing next year,
Yeah.
um, like that's something that could come back in the middle of the season out of nowhere. And even if it doesn't, Zion's a player who doesn't really play that often because of how often he gets hurt. So
That's fair.
to not put like at least a top 10 protection on it or something, which I think they still could have gotten away with. Like you're still trading two firsts
Hmm.
for a pick that's barely in the lottery. I still think the Hawks probably take that trade. It's just
I
very
think
questionable to me.
that's fair. Well, all right. So we both agree Asa Newell was a pretty good pick, especially at that point. I think I saw a lot of people were skeptical at him going because there were rumors that he could have gone at 13 for them, and so then getting him at 22, I think, great move. Moving on to so they had no re-signings. Moving on to their additions, they did a sign and trade for Nikhil Alexander Walker. I think they gave up a
Yep.
second round pick, which and cash, so who cares? But it was a 4 year deal, 4 year 60 with a player option in his age 30 season. Awesome, just like you know, a good contract, a mid level exception contract, and I don't know, traded nothing for him basically. I think it's a elite bench player that can great two-way player. Really showed out in the playoffs last year. Good move. They got Luke Kennard on a 1 year, $11 million deal. Another, good move. Just another good bench shooter. Could probably play really well with Trae Young. He'll get good looks. And then maybe the biggest move for them this offseason was trading for Kristaps Porzingis. They did a three-team trade with the Nets and the Celtics, where the Celtics got Georges Niang and a second. The Nets got Terrence Mann and a first, which ended up being, um,
One of the 7 players
yeah,
they drafted in the
yeah,
first round.
it was. I'm blanking on the name. Whoever they got at like 20, and then the Hawks I think got Porzingis at a second as well. Uh, what did you think about that trade? Because I think the other two moves are just like good moves moving on, but the Porzingis trade is kind of interesting.
Um, yeah, I think I liked it for all the teams involved. The Celtics kind of had to move on from Porzingis.
Hmm.
It was getting to a point where they were just not going to get any value back for him.
Clearly.
And for the Hawks, you kind of just swing big here with Porzingis.
Hmm.
Like if he plays, he's going to be a huge plus for them if he's healthy. But at this point, it's probably not going to happen. But he's still a good player to have on your team, and you have the depth to make up for it if he's not there. So I like the move from the Hawks. I think he's a good fit with Trae Young. I think all the people they added are good fits with Trae Young. I think they're players that will play better next to Trae Young. So
Hmm.
I really like the outlook for the Hawks next year based on the moves they've made this offseason.
I agree.
I'm not even like that big of an Alexander Walker fan, but like for the contract they got him on and how little they had to give up to get him, that's a good bench player for them.
Hmm.
Kennard's one of the better 3 point specialists in the league. I think he'll be a good fit. Although if he's playing with Trey, uh, defense in the backcourt is going to be atrocious.
Definitely.
But
They have really good
yeah,
other defenders. Like, I mean, if Kristaps is
hmm
healthy, he's been proven to be a good defender. Onyeka is a solid defender himself, so like that back line is pretty good. Jalen Johnson's a really good defender, and Reese Shea showed to be a pretty at minimum good, like borderline great defender last year. So they've got a handful of pieces now, and then Nikhil Alexander Walker is another good defender for them. I think that they rounded out
then you
this
have
roster very well.
and then you have Dyson Daniels too.
Oh
You have
yes, exactly. That borderline depoy. Yeah.
yeah. So I really like the way their roster is constructed right now. I think you were saying that they're like a dark horse pick to win the East next year,
Hmm.
and I think with the outlook of how the Eastern Conference is right now, the roster they have, if they can go into the playoffs healthy,
Yeah, definitely.
it's a team that I really like with the way they're constructed, and I'm really interested to see what they do this year. But
Yeah, the East is
I like the additions they made.
yeah, the playoffs are always like who's healthiest is gonna have the best fortune type of thing. But in the East this year it's 100% that way because there's really 3 to 5 teams that today are like the potential finals contenders, and it's only because the Celtics have no chance and the Pacers have no chance and whatever. Um, but like if one of these teams gets hurt, or if like just one of these players on one of these teams gets hurt, like you're instantly out of the running basically. And so it like it really is just so open. Um, I think the East is going to be a super fun playoffs because it's so even. But we can move on to who they lost. They lose Clint Capella to the Rockets. Karis LeVert walks
Oh
to the
no.
Pistons. Larry Nance went to the Cavs. Terrence Mann, I said they traded. Niang, they traded, and then they waived David Roddy. What was your grade for the Hawks?
I'd give him like probably an A minus.
Okay, I gave him
Um,
an A.
yeah, I think I'll just leave room. These grade my grades like I haven't really looked at all the off seasons and graded them, so my grades won't really be that accurate from team to team. But I'll just leave room because there's probably a team that's had a better off season
Yeah.
than them. But I like the moves they've made. I think they've like firmly put themselves in contention next year in the East. You've got young players who are going to continue to get better. You've added good players, and I think they just dropped off a lot of the mid that was sitting on the bottom of their roster. Like Niang's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Roddy, I didn't even know he was still in the league. Karis LeVert's all right. I think Alexander Walker is a fine replacement for him, though. I don't think they'll miss him too much.
Yeah,
And
he's better.
Terrence Mann,
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of players that they weren't really going to need. So
yeah.
I really like the offseason they had.
I agree. So we can move on to Boston. Um, at the 28th pick, they drafted Hugo Gonzalez out of Real Madrid. Um,
Hmm.
I just I have like a few sentences about each person. Both of his parents played pro for Spanish teams, which is I guess sort of interesting. And I've seen his comps to be like Austin Reeves or Ty Jerome. There's talks about him being a stash and draft or draft and stash. I think that they're actually going to play him though because of how
I
relatively
think.
weak. Yeah, like relatively weak this roster is. Like they could afford to actually play a rookie this year, whereas last year or really any year for them they don't have that. Then they got Amari Williams out of Kentucky at the 46th pick. 7 footer, really good defender. He a cool milestone he hit this past year. He was the second player in SEC history to record at least 375 points, 300 rebounds, 100 assists, 40 blocks, and 20 steals in a single season. Which the other person was Janai Broom, which is kind of crazy that two people did it for the first time this year. Um, and then they got Max Shulga at the 57th pick. He's just a like absolute sniper from Ukraine. Um, yeah, that's their draft. I think it was a little bit under the radar draft. Like Hugo Gonzalez was, I saw a lot of people have him second round pick, um, but I guess the Celtics saw something in him. I didn't really scout him that much. There wasn't like I didn't. I was kind of weak on scouting this year, but um,
Yeah.
I did a lot more research after the draft. But we can move on to their. Do you have anything to say about that draft, or do you want to move on to additions?
Oh, I was just gonna say I like Hugo Gonzalez, and I kind of trust Brad Stevens' process at this point. I think he's one of the better GMs in the league.
Yeah.
Although didn't he get promoted again? My
I'm not
my
sure. I did not see that if that was the case.
If not, I think he's one of the better like decision makers in the front office in the league. So I just kind of trust with what he goes with. Amari Williams is a player that I like.
Hmm.
Super passionate player.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets the best of him, like we saw in the tournament. I think he maybe it wasn't the tournament. I remember there was like a big game Kentucky had this year that he like fouled out of, or he like
Yeah. I
got
know.
two techs or something,
Yeah.
something like that. But
I like him
I
a
really
lot
like
though.
the way he plays.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's super aggressive. He's big, super passionate about basketball. So I think if he can kind of get that his emotions under control in the NBA, I think I like the pickup for them just because they lost. They haven't lost Horford yet. I don't think they're going to bring him back though. And then they lost Porzingis, so I think it's a just good youth player to add
Hmm.
to your roster in the big man rotation.
And there's certainly a decent chance that he actually plays this season because their starting center right now is Luca Garza, which
Yeah, they lost
is
Cornette too.
yep. I feel like that was kind of a big loss. But so they added Niang in that three-team trade. They added Garza on a 2-year, $5.2 million contract. Josh Minot on a 2-year, 4.9 million with a team option in the second year. And then they got Anthony Simons in a trade that they did with the Trailblazers, where they just swapped Drew for Simons, which now they're rumored to be trying to trade Anthony Simons,
I
which
think they will. Yeah.
I think they will as well. I'm kind of interested to see what they get back for him because I feel like Drew Holiday was a pretty good return. I kind of expected there to be some sort of picks in there as well, but I think Simons clearly has a decent bit of value.
I think there was initially, and I think they got removed from the trade. I think it just ended up being a straight player swap now.
It was, yeah. And then they lose Drew Holiday in that trade. Cornette walks to the Spurs, and then they lose Porzingis to the Hawks. So two of their starters and their backup five, kind of, they lose. How do you feel about this Celtics offseason?
Um, I mean, we kind of knew going in they were going to lose a lot. I think it was important for them to retain Derek White if their goal is to keep contending with when Jason Tatum comes back.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why they didn't end up trading him or Jalen Brown. I think they're just kind of try to restructure the roster around those three guys when Tatum's back in 2026. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they kind of just did what they had to do. They dumped off a bunch of their older players, Porzingis, Horford, Holiday. You didn't really need them anymore. I think they'll be able to get a decent bit of value back for Simons. I think they had a pretty solid draft. I think they just kind of stayed the course, did what they needed to do. So I'd probably give their off season like C. Like it was just average. Like they just kind
Yeah.
of did what they had to do this season.
My initial grade was a B, but I'm gonna say C plus. After thinking about it some more, I feel like there was just a basic off season where they just kind of had to stay the course because I mean they had to get rid of Drew and they had to get rid of Kristaps. I wasn't expecting them to be able to get rid of Drew because of how big that contract is. So I really do like that they got off of him because I feel like last year was a not a good year for him. You could clearly see the age hitting him with the defense slipping a little bit. His offense was not where it usually was. Um, I think their draft was pretty solid, and then their free agency is just like a bunch of whatever. I personally I hate Luca Garza because of how he tormented Rutgers at Iowa for all those years. Um, but like I think this is kind of just a bit of a wash year for them, and so being able to rotate off of that previous regime or whatever and going into this new era for them, I think that they started that really quickly and well. Moving on to the Brooklyn Nets, where they had 5 first round picks, the most ever, just insane. So they start out with Yegor Demin, maybe the best passer in the draft, just like good touch at the rim, not amazing on defense. I mean, he's good at getting steals and stuff, but his comp is Josh Giddey. Nolan Traore, out of France, another good passing guard, pretty, good dunking, can't play defense. Drake Powell, that's who they traded. The that's who they got that pick from Atlanta, from North Carolina. Another guard, just insane athleticism, great two-way player. It's like a more athletic Isaac Okoro is kind of how I see him. Ben Seraph, another guard, fourth guard by the way, out of Israel. Um,
Very, very weird draft.
yeah, again, a like ball dominant, very good passer. He's got really fun tape. I've seen like a decent bit of him. His tape is fun. Like he's just like flashy passes, like sometimes things that he doesn't even have to do, but he can still get away with, like behind the back or like over the head, whatever, whatever. And then they got Danny Wolf out of Michigan. Basically 7 foot center. Again, sort of a point guard too, though. He played a lot of that at Michigan. Like he did a lot of
He's a ball handler.
yeah. Like he's a ball dominant center. And good passer and stuff. I kind of see like Kelly Olynyk a little bit for him, but just such a weird draft. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. 4 guards, like 3 of which are like
Yeah,
ball dominant, and then a center who is also pretty ball dominant in college. Very strange.
I th- I think I've seen a bunch of memes about the Brooklyn Nets, like how their offense next year. It's that clip from the what's the Will Ferrell basketball movie called? I forgot.
Um, I know what you're talking about. I forget.
You know what movie I'm talking about? Where he's
Yeah,
like passing it into the post, and then he passes it back out, and then he catches it back in the post, and then he passes it back out. People are like,
yeah,
"This is what
yeah.
the Brooklyn Nets offense is going to look like next year." Um, I
Oh,
they had
semi pro.
such a weird draft. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, they had such a weird draft, and I don't think they hit on a single pick. I think they're gonna have 5 first-round picks who all end up just being, like, at best, average NBA players. I
Yeah,
wasn't really a huge fan of, Demon or Demon, however you say his last name.
Demin, yeah.
I wasn't really a huge fan out of him or I wasn't really a huge fan of him coming out of BYU.
Hmm.
I think, like, the Giddey comparison is so obvious, but at the same time, like, that's probably what he's gonna end up being, just like
Yeah, which I can
I
say,
personally don't think
like, where the Thunder were versus where the Nets are very different situations. So I think a Giddy could work better on a Nets situation rather than the Thunder, which were like more established. But like watching Giddy for those whatever it was 3 years or whatever, it was like painful. He was a bad defender. They would leave him open on offense because they knew he couldn't shoot, and then like he would just like try to just drive into the paint over and over again. That was his whole offense, and he's like a decent passer, but like unless you're like the top of the top level passer, it's all kind of like pretty relatively the same a lot of the time. Like you'll have like a handful of nice passes, but I feel like the level of like good passer to like decent is not that crazy compared to like
mm,
scoring or defense or something. Um,
mm.
so I just feel like him and uh, Traor and Seraph are all just so similar that it was I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that. And the only pick that I feel like that I didn't mind was Danny Wolf. I'm not even a huge fan of him, but I feel like they got him at good value. Um,
Mm.
that was I kind of like Drake Powell a little bit, but like he's a role player, which you're drafting at 22. It's fair. You're probably going to get a role player, but it's just like I don't I don't feel like they got anybody that is going to be able to change the way that this ship is sailing, which is like just straight downwards.
Yeah. The Nets are in a very weird spot right now.
Yeah.
Um, traded Cam Johnson, which I actually liked that they did that, but
Yep.
like now they have Michael Porter Jr. on their team. Like they're gonna have such a weird like group of players next
Mhm.
season.
Still, yeah, still
Uh,
haven't. We can, we'll get into that. So they re-signed Dayron Sharp on a 2-year, $12 million deal. I thought it was a great deal. Dayron Sharp's a good player. Zaire Williams on a 2-year, $12 million. Fine, he was okay last year. Um, then they got Terrence Mann in the three-man trade, the three-team trade. Like you said, they got Michael Porter Jr. from the Nuggets for a Cam Johnson, Michael Porter Jr. swap, and they also got the 2032 Nuggets unprotected first-round pick, which I think could be huge. Like that could really be a top pick in the draft, depending on if Jokic is still in the
been near the
league,
end of
how
Jokic's.
how
Yeah.
good he is at the end of his career, because he'll be like late 30s at that point. And then they lose Cam Johnson to the Nuggets. D'Angelo Russell walked to the Mavericks. And then Trendon Watford walked to the 76ers. And then I have this as like kind of a question mark. I don't know what's going to happen with Cam Thomas because he's restricted and there's been no word at all about like, is he resigning? I'm assuming he will,
I didn't
but I don't know.
didn't even know he was a free agent. I actually didn't find out Cam Thomas was a free agent because I hadn't heard anything until I opened 2K and it was like the updated roster and he was sitting at the top of the free agent pool and I had to go check. I haven't seen a single report about him all off season, like
Yeah.
even receiving an offer. So
It's just kind
you'd
of,
think
yeah.
they bring him back,
Hmm.
but
It's just kind of
man,
expected that he's gonna resign. Um, but like the tough thing with restricted free agency is if you don't sign in the beginning, like at this point, free agency is pretty settled, and so the money is not really out there. The money's like with your own team, or basically that's it. Same thing with Josh Giddey. He hasn't resigned and he's restricted, and he's probably just gonna go back to the Bulls on a big deal because they kind of either he missed his opportunity or the Bulls did for him to go somewhere else. We can move on from the Nets though. I gave it a D minus. I think borderline F.
I think I'd probably give it like a D. Yeah, I didn't really.
Yeah. I feel like the Cam Johnson trade was decent. It should have been done a year ago, but like it's fine. Michael Porter Jr. is smelly, but that's fine. Um, moving on to the Hornets, they got Knipple at the fourth pick. Just
Mhm.
a beyond elite shooter,
Nipple.
a sniper. Shot 48, 41, 91 at Duke, which is pretty insane. Decent defender, like real heart and effort on that side of the ball. They got Liam McNeely at the 29th pick.
Mhm.
Dropped 38 against Creighton. That was a good game. Okay defender, good shot creator. Um, I saw like a comp from Corey Kispert, which I think is maybe fair. They got
It's
that pick
okay.
from the Mark Williams trade, and then Sion James with the 33rd pick. Um, like sort of like Aaron Neesmith, a good defending, shooting 3-and-D type guy. Um, and then they got Ryan Kalkbrenner at the 34th pick, 7-footer out of
Mhm.
Creighton. Won the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award, the NABC Depoy okay shooter. If he can, even get better at that, I feel like he is a legitimate center potentially in the league. And getting him at 34, I think they had a really good draft.
Agree. I really loved their draft. I really was hoping that they would take the nipple at 4. They did. No, there's part of deep in my mind where I was praying that somehow he would fall to the Blazers, but that was never a real possibility.
No chance.
Uh, but yeah, I loved that pick. I think he fits really well into what they're building right now.
Mm-hmm.
I thought McNeely was a really good value pick. I don't know much about their 33rd pick, but I
I don't
loved
either. Yeah.
Kalkbrenner
Mm-hmm.
in college. I thought that was a really good pick. I think he's his skill set of being able to protect the rim and space the floor is a big. He might not be able to space as well in the NBA right away, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something he'll probably have if he stays in the NBA for a long time. Is uh, the skill set is at a premium for centers is to be able to do both. So I thought that was a really good pick, high upside pick. Um, yeah, they have a lot of talent on their roster right now, and I think this draft just added on to more of it, and it's just going to come down to how they develop together. Because yeah, I thought they had a really good draft.
Yeah, I've been high on this team. I had them. I think I can't remember if I had them in the playoffs last year or the play-in, but I was just really confident in this roster. Um, Obviously, a ton of injuries happened, and it all just went to trash instantly. But but like in that first 10 games or whatever, when they were healthy, they were like actually one of the top teams in the East. They were good. So yeah, I love this draft. I think that they are building out this roster very well. They re-signed Trey Mann on a 3-year, $24 million deal. I think it's a great deal. Trey Mann was really good for them last year when he was healthy. They added Pat Connaughton for the trade from the Bucks, and they got 2 second-round picks in that deal. They get
As I
Spencer.
mentioned.
Yep. They get Spencer Dinwiddie on a 1-year minimum, 3.6 million. They got Mason Plumlee on the minimum, and then they traded for Colin Sexton from the Jazz, which they gave up Nurkic, and they got a second rounder, which I think is just insane.
Really good trade.
Yeah, two good trades. I mean, so the Pat Connaughton trade, they got rid of Vasilij Micic, um, and he's barely even played for them, and he wasn't good. So they lose Micic to the Bucks, and then Bucks waived him. They lose Nurkic to the Jazz, and then they traded Mark Williams to the Suns. And in that Suns trade, they get um, Liam McNeely. They get to pick for him. They got a first rounder. Um, I didn't write down anywhere. They got another first in 2027, I think, or 29 or something, and they gave up like a second as well. But I think Mark Williams was not a plus player for them last season. I mean, he was out for so long that losing him was kind of a given. I feel like they rotated off that pretty well. I mean, they still have Musa Diabate, and then they got Kalkbrenner to be a potential maybe backup center for them next year. They also have Mason Plumlee who can be that if Kalkbrenner's not ready yet. I think that they had just a stellar offseason for a team that isn't a major free agency market.
Yeah, I loved the Colin Sexton trade, especially with what they had to give up. Nurkic is one of the worst players of all time. Um, and Sexton's like really, really good. And I don't know if he's going to start for them or if he's going to be their top guy off the bench. I
He's
don't know
probably
what their
six
team's
man,
going to
I
look
bet.
like next year. Yeah. I was kind of hoping he'd go to a contender, but the Hornets are like with how bad the East is going to be next year, with how young they are.
Say
They
it.
can stay healthy. They could easily be like a top play-in, maybe a
Yep.
playoff team. So,
Dude,
uh,
I think that they're right up there with like they're not the Cavs, Knicks tier, like throw in the Magic there or whatever. But like I think that they could be right there with like the Bucks, maybe like contending for like that 6, 5, 7 area.
I'd say they're definitely probably going to be in the play-in at best.
I
Because
don't
once
know.
you actually map out the East, I think there is like six clear playoff teams. Because I was going through it the other day with a couple people, but
Mm,
I do think that their ceiling is like a play-in at like if they have like a ridiculous like max 100% season, maybe like the sixth seed. But I do like their team and where they're going. The Sexton trade is A plus, so I
yeah,
thought that was really good for them.
and they're still pretty young. Like even if it's not this year, it could be the next year. Like even Halliburton and Tatum are going to come back, but there's no guarantee that they're all pro or like all NBA level that year. Um, and so who knows? I mean, that's so far down the line. Every team will look so different. But I think that they're building a good core here. I gave it an A minus.
Yeah, I'd probably go like B plus. I thought they had a pretty good offseason.
Yeah, I had B plus originally, but now that I'm reading through it again, I'll kick it up a bit. I think this draft I think they killed it. All
Good,
right,
really good draft. I agree.
yeah. Here's a team we can go by quick because actually I kind of have a rant for them, but Bulls. They at the 12th pick
Bulls.
get Noah Asengay from France. He's only 18 years old. Um, really good handle, great defense, good dunker finisher. Complete question mark shooting wise. Like his shot is completely unknown. Really not even a thing right now. Um, it's another like risky, high ceiling, potentially low floor pick from the Bulls. Um, we saw it with Patrick Williams where they try to get this Kawhi type player, whatever. And then at the 55th pick, they got Lachlan Olbrich out of Australia. I don't know much, but he won the MVP of the NBL, and he went to UC Riverside and was like a crazy sniper there. So I guess maybe they're getting a good shooter. It's a 55th pick. He probably won't play. Um, I just think that the Bulls are not in a position to make these low floor, high ceiling picks year after year. I think that they need to get the safe picks because they are a complete nothing of a team in roster right now. They still have Vucevic where they need to trade him. Like I feel like they hold on to their veterans too long and to the point where their trade value is too low and they're not as good as they once were. And then they don't bring in any high upside rookies. Like they have Modest, but even he's not some otherworldly rookie that like is amazing. I mean, I like him a lot. I think he's a good player, but he's not like even a number one option on a team. Realistically, he's a good connecting piece. But they don't even have anything close to that number one. Realistically, even a number two. Like it's just this team just sucks. Um, do you have anything to say about the draft?
I don't really know much about the guys they drafted. Not gonna lie. I haven't really done much on Noah or who's the other guy, Ulbrich.
Yeah.
I don't really know much about either of those two guys, but yeah, their team's just like it's just like a role player super team.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like you said, they don't really have the one or even the two really. I was kind of interested to see if they would trade Kobe White.
There's
Um,
plenty of rumors I've seen the last like 2 days that they're trying to do that now, which is just like I
and I
hope
don't
I
know how
hope
I
I
feel
hope
about
they
that.
do because this team is such a joke that I hope they trade Kobe White. Like their best player probably. Let's trade him and we'll get back like a first rounder and probably a bad player because that's how the Bulls are. It,
Yeah, have they like added or lost anybody? I haven't really followed the Bulls much this
so
offseason.
they re-signed Trey Jones on a 3-year, $24 million deal, which wasn't bad. He was pretty good for them in that half season last year. They added Isaac Okoro in a trade where they lost Lonzo to the Cavs. That is their entire offseason.
That's bad.
Yeah, and we don't know what's happening with Josh Giddey. He wants 30 million because he thinks like his agent and him. The reports are Jalen Suggs got 30, and so they feel that they deserve 30. I don't know who's going to tell Josh Giddey that Jalen Suggs is a lot better than him, but it probably won't be the Bulls, and I fully expect to see like 390 or 4 120 any day now.
If Giddy's asking for 30 million, I'm telling him to kick rocks. I'm not re-signing him. I I really don't think Giddy's a good basketball player. Um, like his numbers will make it seem like he's having a good season, but I
Mhm.
think like every advanced metric show that he was a negative for the Bulls this season. And if you just
Yeah.
watch them play, unless he's hitting half court shots against the Lakers, he like really wasn't that good of a player this year.
Yeah, he
Um,
got like some triple doubles and stuff, which like he always does. But the defense is always not going to be there, and the shooting is always going to be pretty questionable. It, I'm not a big Josh
that's
Giddey fan, and like
that's
man, this team just
that's
has
what it comes
no
down to.
direction.
It's like, yeah, the box score is always going to be nice for Giddy, but if you're paying a guy off box score, that's just terrible management.
Hmm.
Like all that really matters at the end of the day is your skill set, and Giddy doesn't have a skill set where he can be a starting point guard on a team and win a championship. That's just never going to happen, and that has to be your goal as a general manager
Yeah,
is to try and win a championship. So Giddy's just not a guy that you can have on your team if that's your goal. I wouldn't
and
re-sign him. I think if they sign him, their offseason actually gets worse than it's already been, which it's kind of
yeah,
just been nothing so far. So
and I think like there's talks about they've been trying to trade Vucevic for all off season now, but nobody wants him because he's old, making a lot of money, and he's not that good anymore. Um,
yeah,
But
I
it's just
wouldn't
like
want him either.
they had their opportunity to trade him a year or two ago, and they kept him around, and now he's
Mhm.
like 34, and he's gonna. I think he's probably on an expiring at this point or close to it. They're just in a terrible
They
situation. It's just
they took too long to trade DeRozan and Levine
yeah,
too. Like
it's
that
been a
project
thing.
was never going to work.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just yeah.
yeah. They're super mismanaged. They it feels like insulting to the fans because they just kind of like
Mm.
expect them to try to get hyped and buy jerseys and whatever for like this team that is just not even mid. They're just straight up bad. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the East next season. I give them a D minus just because they
I
at
think
least made a move, which was a bad move, but like
I think
they
because
just
they have so many role players, they'll probably be fine in the East next year. Like, and when I say fine, I mean like not the worst team
they
or
will
one of the
find
worst
their way
teams in
into
the
the
East.
play in like always.
I think they'll be probably like around that play-in range, but yeah, I don't. They're not like a good team by any
I
stretch
think
of the
I think they're
imagination.
going to be like 12
Yeah,
ish,
I could see
13,
that somewhere in that range.
whatever. I said D minus. What's your grade?
I think I agree with you. I'd probably give it a D minus.
Okay. Moving on to the Cavaliers. Did not have a first round pick, had two second rounders. At the 49th pick, they get Tyrese Proctor out of Duke. Um, he improved a lot shooting wise and scoring overall 3 years at Duke. Um, Good ball handler, good inside finisher. I see like a Karis LeVert type guy for him. I think is his potential ceiling. And then they got Saliu Niang out of Senegal. Um, Not a good shooter.
A
Is
new
is
Niang on Cleveland.
Yeah, is good at everything else. Yeah, right. They just find a new one every time. Um, like he's a really good defender. He's a good finisher. Just again, not a good shooter. Whatever. Um, they re-signed Sam Merrill on a 4-year, $38 million contract. Um, Fine. I know Donovan Mitchell loves him. They added Lonzo in that trade. He's got 2 years, 20 left on his deal, a team option in that second year when he's 29. And then they got Larry Nance on the minimum. They lose Ty Jerome to the Grizzlies and Okoro in the trade to the Bulls. What's your opinion on this Cavs offseason?
Just another like very average one. You know, they kind of just had to stand put. Um, as all these injuries kind of unfolded in the East, especially the Halliburton injury. I think the door is wide open for the Cavs now.
Mm. Honestly, if the
I
Cavs
love the
don't win the East, I think it's like this is one of the most
have to blow
embarrassing.
it up.
Like yeah, like this year, I think if they second, third, even if they lose in the conference finals, like it doesn't matter who it is, they're better than the Knicks. They're better than the Magic. They're better than any team you're gonna name. Like the only team I think is if like the fully healthy 76ers, which I'm not even gonna bank on, but like I think that is the
Even
only
then,
team that
I
could
would still
legitimately.
expect the Cavs to
I
win that
agree. I
series.
I agree, but I think that's the only team that could like truly 100% like rival them.
Hmm.
But yeah, go on with your side.
Yeah, I think Gonna be a weak East. Probably expecting this team to win 60 games again next year, or
Yep,
somewhere around that mark.
definitely.
There's going to be a lot of pressure on Donovan Mitchell next year. I love not the addition. I love the re-signing of Sam Merrill. I think he has a lot of good micro skills that make him a really good role player for them. He fits really well in Atkinson's offense.
Mm,
Um, Actually, like the addition of Tyrese Proctor too. I think that's a really
I do
good
too.
late round pick.
Definitely.
I don't know much about the other guy, but Proctor, I really liked him at Duke. He was fun to watch. I think that'll be a good addition for them if he ends up playing a lot this season, which maybe he doesn't, maybe he will. But yeah, I also loved the Lonzo trade.
Oh,
Um,
no doubt. Fantastic trade.
that's a really really high upside trade. I think Ty Jerome, much as I love Ty Jerome, I think Lonzo will probably be a better fit for what they're trying to do, especially in the postseason. Ty Jerome was just a complete traffic cone on defense.
He was
Lonzo
awful.
Ball, polar opposite, like borderline elite defender when he's at full strength.
Mm,
Great, great at help defense, great off ball defense. Like got rim protection chops as a guard.
mm.
Shooter fits in their offense as a shooter. He can play off the ball. He can play with the ball. So I really like how he fits in their team. I just hope that he's healthy, and now that he's at a full season back from that horrible injury, I think we'll probably see the best Alonzo we're going to see when he's healthy next season. So
Yeah, and
excited to watch it.
his role is a lot smaller than it's been
Mm.
before. Like he can just run the second unit, and he doesn't have to worry about starting or the game coming down to him or anything like that. I think this is a perfect situation for him to go to. Um, I think the Cavs. I had it originally at a B plus. I'm gonna move it down to a B just because, like, I had it at a B plus because I felt the fact that there were so many rumors about trading Garland or trading Jared Allen, and then they didn't do it because they saw like, oh, the East is really open. Like we can just stay put and like potentially just win it. I think that is in itself a good move. Um, and then, like you said, re-signing Merrill's a good move. The Lonzo trade, I think, was awesome. Okoro was basically nothing for them. And I think Lonzo, even if he's just something, it's better. Losing Ty Jerome was kind of expected because he a bit played himself out of their range. And then Larry Nance is just another piece.
Yeah, I'd probably give it like a B minus. If I'm saying like C is average, I think they were probably a little bit above the average for what we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just standing put, but I think the Lonzo trade probably bumped it up a little bit for me. I'm a really big fan of Lonzo as a player, so I think that
Yeah.
was a really good pickup for them.
I will say, like, my grades, I didn't really do it off, like, a, well, this is average, so am I higher or lower than that? Like, I felt like I gave a lot of, like, in the B range. So maybe that was more so my average. I don't know. But I'll probably also change them as I talk about it. Moving on to the
Yeah,
Mavericks.
that's kind of, yeah.
All right, we got it. Let's try to do a little bit faster here because we're at 40
Mhm.
minutes through 6 teams. Uh,
Let's do it.
so the Mavericks are next. The only pick they made was Cooper Flag at 101. Nothing really needs to be said about him. He's just,
Boom.
amazing offensive player, amazing defensive player, potential legend type guy. They re-sign Exum on a minimum, and then they get Kyrie on a 3-year, $118 million extension. They got him to,
Hmm.
decline that player option. They add D'Angelo Russell on a 2-year, 11.6 with a player option in his age 30 season, and then they lose Dinwiddie to the Hornets. I like this offseason. I think for the
Yeah.
small amount of moves that they could make, I think that they basically hit on all of them.
Did what you had to do, Nico Harrison. You made the easiest first pick since 2 years ago, but you made it super easy first pick with Cooper Flag. Lucked into him.
Mm-hmm.
But glad that he's
Nah,
going to
no,
be
it was
there.
all
Honestly,
part of the plan.
it was all part of Nico Harrison's master plan. Fortune favors the bold. But yeah, Cooper Flag, re-signing Kyrie. I like it. He's going to be out for most of next season, so I think that gives Cooper Flag a lot of chance to develop. He'll probably have the ball in his hands a lot more to start next season.
Mm-hmm.
So excited to see how he develops at the start of next season. Expecting a pretty comfortable rookie of the year from him. And then I actually really like the D'Lo signing. He's probably going to be their starting point guard, unless I'm forgetting somebody to start the
No,
season.
I think he will be, and I think that was a really good signing by them.
Yeah. I'm actually a lot higher on D'Lo than a lot of people. I know in LA he was like a troll in the playoffs. And
Hmm.
like, yeah, if you're playing D'Lo 34 minutes a game, he's probably not a very good starting point guard in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
as a bench guy for them going forward, I mean, he's got great chemistry with AD, like amazing pick and roll chemistry with AD as we've seen in LA. So I love just that aspect of their two-man game. And then I just think he's a legitimately good scorer, and he has his weaknesses, but such a strong defensive roster, I think D'Lo fits in pretty well with them. So I liked that pickup.
I agree. You basically hit on everything I want to say. I think the Kyrie extension was a little rich, but they kind of had to do it. Um,
Kind of had to, yeah.
yeah. I gave it a B plus just because, like I said, the amount of moves you could do, especially with the second apron. Um, I think that they, fantastic draft pick. Obviously, re-signings were fine, and then I think getting D'Angelo Russell was a really good move.
I'd probably go B minus.
Yeah,
Um,
B plus maybe is a little rich,
because
but
Cooper Flag to me is not like a good move. It's more of like you kind of lucked into him, but
that's fair.
they get like they made the pick, so they get Cooper Flag, so it's still a good addition. But to me, I'm grading more so off like the decision making and that kind of aspect. So I think adding D'Lo was a good choice. I think extending Kyrie was a good choice, but at the same time, you kind of had to extend Kyrie and had to draft Flag. So
Mm,
give it a B minus.
alrighty. Moving on to the Nuggets. They did not draft a single player. Um, they and they did not re-sign anybody. They add Bruce Brown on a 1 year minimum. They add Cam Johnson with the trade with the Nets. He's got 2 year, 44 left on his deal. Saves about 34 million over 2 seasons from that losing MPJ.
Good trade.
Um, they add Tim Hardaway on a minimum, and then they trade Jonas. They trade for Jonas Valanciunas, and they give away Dario Saric to the Kings. Um, Val has 2 years, 20 million left on his deal, and it just came out, I think, yesterday that he is going to play for the Nuggets because they fully guaranteed the second year in the contract. Obviously, there was a lot of talk that he was going to go to Greece. He was clearly very much so trying to. He actually flew there to sign the contract, and the Nuggets basically said, "Turn around, you're playing for us." Um, how do you feel about this offseason? Basically, just signings and stuff.
I I really liked it. You can tell this new Nuggets management came in right away and kind of set this precedent that we're going to be a lot more aggressive than we've been in the past. We have arguably the best player in the league in Nikola Jokic. So we have to capitalize on this like very rare opportunity you get at a championship window right now.
Hmm.
So I loved the addition of Johnson. I think he's a much better player than Porter. I
Yeah.
think next to Jokic, he's going to look really good. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is one of those players that next to Jokic is going to look a lot better than he probably is. I think Bruce Brown's a player that was really good glue guy for them off the bench when they won a championship. I really wanted them to keep him when they
Hmm.
lost him, so I'm really glad they brought him back.
Yeah.
Then Valanciunas is just like good depth behind Jokic. I really like that addition as well since he's going to play for them. Jokic's on-off numbers will take a hit, but hopefully that's not what they care about anymore now that Malone is gone. So I really liked it. I thought they really filled out depth, which they really badly needed. They added players that I think Jokic really enhances the game of, and I think they've fully opened their chances at a title next year. I think they were that close to beating the Thunder, and since the Thunder are going to be better next year, they kind of kept that gap close to where I still think they could beat the Thunder in a series.
Mm.
Um, so I really liked their offseason.
I the only complaint I have about Valanciunas trade is I'm a big Daron Holmes fan, and I really wanted him
Oh yeah,
to
that's right.
get his opportunity. I was so sad when he tore his Achilles last year, um, which
He'd probably
uh,
still get minutes.
maybe yeah. Who knows? I think this offseason was awesome though. Like you basically said everything that I wanted to say. I think people are posting like charts about Cam Johnson's defense is actually slightly worse than MPJ or whatever. Like I don't care. It's everything is going to look so much better. Like he's playing for the Nets. You can't like nobody's trying. I think he's going to be just offer so much more. He's not a guy that you can 100% hunt on defense. Like people were doing for MPJ. I think he's a more uh like versatile offensive player rather than just a lot of catch and shoot ball and like
100%.
play ends here type guy. Um, and I think he could just like facilitate the offense a little more. Like you don't have to run Murray and like they always ran their whole starting five and then their whole bench and then their whole start like that's all they did. I think now you could like bench Murray for a minute and have Cam Johnson sort of run an offense a little bit. You could also do that with Bruce Brown. I just think that this was a really stellar offseason for a team that it feels like in the last however many years, like literally did nothing every offseason.
Yeah. I think the only thing you lose with Porter is when he was fully engaged, he was a pretty good rebounder, and
Yeah,
I don't think Johnson's on that same level, but I think you're
definitely.
fine with losing that with everything else that Johnson brings. So
Yeah, and you get a
I,
better
I really
backup
like
big,
their
so I
offseason.
think it sort of or, negates that a little bit.
Yeah.
I gave it an A. I think it's just a.
Um,
I think they killed it.
yeah, I'd probably go like B plus. I
Yeah,
liked their offseason. Thought it was good.
yeah, they're a team that I feel like they didn't really have that many moves to make. I mean, they took the defending champs or they took the eventual champs to 7. So like just changing your bench a little bit is sometimes all that is. I mean, really for that series, that totally was what it was. They needed a stronger bench to be able to beat a team like the Thunder, and they did that 100%. Moving on to the Detroit Pistons, they had one draft pick, which was Chaz Lanier at the 37th pick out of Tennessee. Just like that, like small shooting guard type guy fits their Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley role perfectly. Over half of his shots in college were from the 3-point range, where he shot 41%, and he won the Jerry West Award for the best shooting guard. Yeah, just pretty impressive stuff.
Like it.
They re-signed Paul Reed on a 2-year, $10.9 million deal. I feel like that's pretty solid. They add
Good thing.
Karis LeVert on a 2-year deal for $29 million. Again, pretty solid. And then
It's okay.
they trade for Duncan Robinson and extend him on a 3-year, $48 million contract. They lose Simone Fontecchio for that swap with Duncan Robinson. Tim Hardaway walks to the Nuggets. Dennis Schroeder goes to the Kings in a sign and trade where they got back like a second rounder in cash. And then who knows about Malik Beasley? He's still getting investigated for betting, which he clearly did. Um, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the case, then Silver's kind of set the precedent. Like you do that, you're out of the NBA.
I
So
I really am confident that he's going to get banned from the league. Like I've just seen so much stuff pointing
it
to
sucks, man.
yeah, like pointing to like games where he went crazy at the end, shooting an extra two threes, or like there's like 10 examples I've seen of people posting stuff of just like basic deep dive into could he have done it, and they found stuff already. Um,
Yeah.
who knows? But I don't. Even if they lose them, I think it like they'll be fine. Um, what did you feel about this
Yeah.
offseason?
I'm not going to hold the loss of Malik Beasley against the Pistons,
Oh
obviously,
no, yeah,
because it's entirely a personal thing. So, Tim Hardaway Jr. replaced by Levert and Robinson. Like you're kind of just staying the course. Like you basically lost two shooting guards and replaced them with two wing guys who
mm,
can kind of do what you still need them to do. Um, like the addition of Lanier. You're getting Jaden Ivey back, which isn't a move, but that'll
yeah,
be good for them next season.
definitely.
He really upped his shooting last year, so I'm excited to see what he does this next season. Um, but yeah, I don't like their off season really didn't do much for me in terms of making them better. I think the big thing that's going to make them better next season is Ivy coming back.
I agree.
But as far as their off season, I think they just kind of stayed pat. I'd give them like a C minus for what they did this off season.
Yeah, I give them a C. I think that the losses that they had weren't drastic, and like you said, I think probably getting Jaden Ivey back is the biggest move here. I was a little worried during the end of last season. You see it a lot with teams where a guy gets hurt mid-season, they continue on without him, they're still pretty good. Maybe they win a playoff series or whatever, and then they just trade him because they're like, oh, we don't need him anymore. So I was a little worried that they were going to do that, but luckily they didn't.
I'm glad they kept him around.
Definitely, I think that
Really good.
he mans that second unit very well. Or he could be that two guard if you really want. I think that he's better off the bench though as a 6 man. And I think like Levert is better than Tim Hardaway, and like Levert slash Duncan Robinson are better than Hardaway and Beasley. So I think it's like Maybe like
Like, yeah,
Beasley's
I'm pretty
probably.
low on Robinson, but
I think that's fair, but I think he's better than Tim Hardaway at least. And then Levert and Malik Beasley are
yeah.
sort of comparable. Obviously, they do a little bit different things. Beasley was a ridiculous 3-point shooter last year, but I don't even think that you can expect him to hit 300 threes again. That's kind of insane. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think they did fine. Moving on to which by far the worst offseason, without a doubt, the Golden State Warriors.
Oh,
Uh,
easily. Yeah.
two
They haven't done
picks.
anything.
Yep, two picks in this draft. Alex Tui out of Australia at the 52nd pick, a 6'8" player. Max Strus comp, okay defender, maybe could be a good shooter one day. One of my notes is literally going to a Warrior system where Kurz plays everyone could benefit him. Okay. And then they got Will Richard at the 56th pick out of Florida. Shot 40% on 4 attempts from 3 per game. Like decent defender, could catch and shoot. He'll probably play at some point. Did not resign anybody. Did not add anybody. The only thing that they did was lose Kevon Looney to the Pelicans. And then potentially they're losing Kuminga as well because they have still not extended him.
And they traded their 41st pick or 42nd pick, whatever it was. I
Mm-hmm.
actually do like Will Richard. I think he's a pretty decent player, but they traded Kobe Brea, who
Yeah.
they initially picked, and I actually thought he was pretty good, and I thought he would fit with the Warriors pretty well
Mm-hmm.
because of how good of a shooter he is and how good he is off the ball. Um, they just traded that pick for a guy who Steve Kerr will probably throw in the rotation halfway through the season, play him 20 minutes a game, and then we'll never see him again.
Yeah.
So I really hate this offseason for the Warriors. Like,
Brutal.
they traded the one
Brutal.
guy who I liked that they picked. Will Richard is, I actually am like a fan of him, but that's also because I was just rooting for Florida to win it all. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
watched him more than a lot of other people.
He's a good shooter, and I think like
Um,
good shooting is something that is super valuable at the end of drafts because that's not something that is just like. I mean, it could go away, but it shouldn't go away into the NBA. And so, that's the type of player that could potentially play themselves onto the court. I just think, like
but
you're kind of saying, this offseason just sucks. They did nothing.
the end of the day, like, you have a team, you have a core right now that does have a chance to contend. Like, you showed that in the second half of last season, you were one of the best teams in the league when Jimmy Butler, Curry, and Draymond were all on the court together,
Yeah.
and you did nothing to add to that core. And the
Mm-hmm.
one, like, the probably the best draft pick you made, you immediately traded him away.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him an F.
I
I
give
think
him an
this will
F.
probably be the only F I give anybody, just because
Yeah.
like the pure laziness and lack of like I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. They just seem like they don't care to
Yeah.
win with Curry again.
Yeah. It's like a lack of like wherewithal to like realize that you are in the twilight years of Curry's career and you're just like throwing it all away for nothing. I mean, I guess you're not technically throwing it all away because you just got Jimmy, so maybe they see that as their offseason move. But like it's
Yes, yeah.
it's just like that's you barely gave up anything to get Jimmy. So it's not like you mortgaged your whole future and current and whatever. You gave up like Andrew Wiggins and some trash. And so I think that they I don't know, maybe they got complacent or whatever. They made the second round last year and I'm assuming they probably feel like we could have gotten past the Timberwolves if Curry stays healthy. You probably don't, but whatever. I just feel like
They easily could have won that
they
series.
totally could have. I just feel like they probably I don't know. Even if they do, they get smacked by the Thunder. Who cares? Um, I just I don't know. I think their only move is losing their like 10-year center. I think it's just like ridiculous. This team is just so terribly managed. And then like every report about Kaminga I've seen is that other teams are trying to get him, and so like I guess
They
they're
just
gonna
don't care.
yeah they're gonna maybe they because I mean he's restricted, so they have to get like it would be a sign and trade. So like they'll get something in return, and from what I've seen, they want like a decent haul. I just man,
Well,
I think they
the
just
the thing
terribly
about
managed
Kuminga
this.
is like intentionally like straitjacketing this disgruntled player onto your
Yeah,
team, and then you're not going to play him. Like, it
yeah,
doesn't make any sense. Like, Steve Kerr's going to bench him halfway into the season when he's averaging 18 points a game. It doesn't make any sense why he's still on their team and why they haven't traded him.
yeah.
I do think they re-signed DeAnthony Melton.
Did they?
So my friend was telling me yesterday or last night. If that's true, I do think that's a good re-signing for them. But like re-signing D'Anthony Melton can't be the highlight of your offseason when you're a playoff team.
No. According to the NBA.com like off-season tracker, they've re-signed nobody.
Awesome. So they have literally not done anything officially yet. What a trash offseason.
The Anthony Melton. No, he's a free agent. This is saying he's on the Nets. It might be I think he's a free agent. I don't know. It says he's a
I guess
net
so.
though. I'm not sure. Whatever. I gave him an F.
Their big addition is Will Richard. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an F.
yeah. 56th overall pick. Nice man. Nice. Yeah, and then, like you said, let's say they re-sign Kuminga. We'll give him 30 million a year, whatever the hell he's asking for. They're going to not play him in the playoffs, and they're going to bench him halfway through the season, and then it's just like now we have $30 million sitting
Annoying.
in the reserves. Yeah,
Mhm.
but they'll
It's bad.
play Kevin Knox in the playoffs instead. Whatever. Yeah, because Kerr realizes in a game 7, oh shit, Kaminga's actually kind of solid. Maybe I'll play him this game.
Maybe I'll play him instead of Kevin Knox. Let's try that.
Jesus Christ, man. Whatever. Moving on to my favorite offseason, Houston Rockets. They just
Hmm.
everything they did was good. Let me
Hmm.
just I just want to double check this because just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, they did not draft anybody. Um, but they didn't have to because they just made a billion moves otherwise. So re-signing, they got Steven Adams on a 3-year extension, 3-year 39. I think is a good deal. He was really solid for them last year. They get Aaron Holiday on a minimum 1 year. They get Jeff Green on a minimum for 1 year. Jabari Smith Jr. agrees to a 5-year extension, 5 years, 122 million. I think is a good
Really
deal as
big.
well. Like
Mm.
I think he's just shown a ton of potential, and last year was really solid for him. I think he is only going to continue to get better. And even if he doesn't, like that's still good money for him. They re-signed Jayshawn Tate on a just below the minimum, and then they extend Fred VanVleet for a 2-year, 50 million player option in age 32 season. They declined his 44 million team option to do that. That's all
Like
the
that.
re-signings. Yeah, like all of those good moves in my opinion. Then
Mm.
they add Clint Capella on a 3-year, $21 million deal. Super strange in my opinion. Um, they trade for Kevin Durant. That's the biggest move
Yep.
in the
Yep.
7-team trade, which biggest trade ever. And then they add Dorian Finney-Smith to a 4-year, $52.7 million deal with a player option in his age 35 season. It's kind of a lot of
Good
money
trade.
for potentially
Great
at that
signing.
point a good like an older guy, but yeah, amazing signing. And then they lose Dylan Brooks in the trade. They lose Jalen Green in the trade, both to the Suns. Jock Landale they waived, and then they trade Cam Whitmore to the Wizards, and they got back 2 second-round picks. Um, I do want to just like say um, the entire trade, just to like we can break it all down. But how did you feel about this offseason?
There was a couple moves I didn't like. I thought they could have got more out of Cam Whitmore. I think it was said that they got offered more than they did for Cam Whitmore, and they just didn't take it,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting to me. But it's whatever at the end of the day. And then the signing of Clint Capella was a little confusing. They have kind of a log jam at center now with Shengun, Adams, and Capella. It's kind of a weird group of centers that can't really play together that well.
Yeah.
I mean, Adams and Shengun can be fine for spurts, but I don't see how Capella fits in there. But everything else, slam dunk. Kevin Durant trade was an A+ trade. I mean, you lose the worst player in your starting lineup, and you're getting back top, like arguably a top 10 player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I think losing Dylan Brooks was like a small hit for them, but I think getting Dorian Finney-Smith plugs that hole right back up. He's going to pretty much do what Dylan Brooks was doing for them. I don't know if he's as good of a player as Dylan Brooks, but
He's
I
better.
think uh, I think he'll
D-
fit fine with them though.
Dylan Brooks' defense is still solid, but it fell off a little bit. So like where that like people think that he's like that all defense level guy, like he's not that anymore. I think Dorian Finney-Smith offers more on offense and is as good as a defender, if not like it's just like within the same range.
I don't
Like
know.
maybe
I
he's
think
not
I
like
think
a
I'd take
Curry
Brooks
defender,
offensively.
but I think he could defend bigger guys better too. Um,
Uh,
whatever though, they don't even need like the that extra
it's Mo Alley
defender is
Cox and Austin Hooper.
a little bit, yeah, but like that. Getting DFS and losing Dylan Brooks is just like they're adding their fifth best defender. You know, like they already have all of these like Amen and uh, Tori Eason and uh, uh, I guess DFS now and why am I Jabari Smith? They so like they have good defenders already. I think that they're fine. Um, the Kevin Durant trade was the Rockets getting KD and Capella. The Suns getting originally it was just Suns and Rockets, obviously, and it got extended into a bunch of stuff. So the Rockets get KD and Clint Capella. The Suns get Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Kaman Malawach from the 10th overall pick. Rasheer Fleming with the 31st pick. Kobe Brea with the 41st pick. Daquan Plowden in a 26 and 2032 second rounders. The Nets got 26 and 2030 second rounders. The Warriors got Alex Tuhey and Jemai Mashak. The Hawks get David Roddy, a 2031 second in cash. The Lakers get, and then they instantly waived him. The Lakers get Adu Thiero, 36 overall in cash. And the Timberwolves got Rocco Zakarski, 45th overall, 26-32 second rounders in cash. So kind of a whole lot of nothing, but cool that there was a 7-team trade. Um, but yeah, I like this offseason a lot. I think that they re-signed everybody they needed to. The Kevin Durant trade is obviously massive. They needed that go-to scorer in the playoffs last year. It was desperate at times when the shot clock's ticking down or in the clutch. Like they were just kind of leaning on like a Fred VanVleet chucking three, or like Sengun to do something in the post, and it was just kind of messy. And so getting KD is such a huge, huge thing for them. He could be that legitimate number one scoring option for them. I still feel like KD can't really be a number one scoring guy on a championship level team. I do feel like they will need to get somebody else. It doesn't have to be a superstar first team all NBA level guy, but like if they like he could be a 1A 1B type situation, and maybe it's a men stepping
um,
up. I think that that's probably very likely that he becomes like a his 1B to KD's 1A. Um, but I just think that they could be a piece away.
I think Kevin Durant can 100% be the best, like your number one scoring option on championship team, but you do need to have a better playmaker, like primary playmaker next to him, because he's not as good at initiating offense as a lot of the other top scoring offenses in the league or
Mm.
top scoring options in the league. So I kind of agree. I still think he can be their first option though if they want to win a ring with him. They just probably need a different point guard, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think like Fred VanVleet's fine, whatever. There is talks about them playing Reed Shepard more this year, which I think is a little bit interesting.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of Reed Shepard. I think that I was hoping that he was going to play more last year, but I understand, I guess, why he didn't. Obviously, was he played like in the G League for like 3 games and dropped 40 basically every game, and so they were like, "Oh, you're way too good. Let's not play you there." They totally should play him this season though. Otherwise, I think losing Jalen Green, a relatively negative player, especially in the playoffs. Dylan Brooks, you can survive with losing him. For getting KD, worth it 100 times out of 100. I gave them an A plus plus. I think they just had from being the second
Plus,
seed and like a 55 win team, whatever they were, and adding a top 10 relative player and like re-signing everybody and adding DFS, like they just did so well. The only weird thing is re-signing or extending Adams and signing Clint Capella. That was very strange, but whatever. Moving on to the Indiana Pacers. They had 2 draft picks, both in the second round. They draft Cam Jones at the 38th pick. Um, Out of Marquette, he had a 6-2 assist turnover ratio in his senior season. Like a very heavy pressure, intense defender, solid shooter. I feel like just fits that Pacers like full court defense type of mold. And then they got Talon Peter in the 54th pick out of Liberty. Uh, I like him a lot. I didn't watch Liberty obviously a ton, like nobody did, but I've seen clips of him, and I saw like one game from them last year. And in that amount that I saw, I do like him. I feel like he's got really good feel for the game. That was very visible in the amount that I saw. Just like very very good shooter. Can hold his own on defense. I just feel like, I mean, he's not going to play for the Pacers. He's a 54th pick, but I think he just fits that. Like the way they play, I feel like he fits them very well. Um, they re-sign James Wiseman on a 2-year deal for 5.6 million, a team option in his 25th age season. They add Jay Huff from a trade with the Grizzlies for 2 second-rounders, and then they lose Miles Turner. He just walks to the Bucks. Um, how did you feel about this offseason?
Um, it's all right. I think they tried to get Miles Turner back, and he just didn't want to stay. So I'm not really going to hold that against them. But outside of that, they didn't really do much, and I don't really blame them for not doing much because next season's kind of thrown away already. I
Mm-hmm.
think next season is going to be more of a focus on Benedict Mathurin and Nemhard and seeing how they can develop into
Yeah,
their roles because they're going to get a lot more playing time next year. Um,
yeah. There was a ton
uh,
of talk of during the postseason when Nemhard was just killing it, and everyone's saying, oh, Nemhard could be the number one in his own team. He's clearly so good, whatever, whatever. And like, obviously, nobody wants Hallie to get hurt, but if there is a bright side, it's you could see what a Nemhard led team will look like. I don't think he's going to be that good. I think he's just going to be his typical self, maybe a little better, but
I
who
think
knows?
I don't even know who's their center going to be next season.
Um,
Jackson,
they have oh shoot, Isaiah Jackson,
Isaiah
and
Jackson, and
they have Jay
then
Huff.
what? Jay, like their center rotation's kind of shot right now,
Yeah.
but the whole Nemhard Brunson thing is like I do think he actually has like the skill set of a player who could be a lead option guy. I
Tony
just don't know if
Bradley.
it's going to come to fruition. Tony Bradley, yeah, their center rotation's cooked right now. Um, so as far as their offseason goes, they didn't really do much. I'd probably give it like a C minus.
Mm-hmm. My grade was a C minus as well. I think you could even argue it's a little bit lower because they did not get back Miles Turner. I know,
Yeah,
like you said, they potentially he didn't want to come back. I know that, like, so when it first
the whole
happened,
team's pissed at him right now.
yeah, like they didn't like his Instagram post or whatever. Um, I think there was initially talks that they kind of lowballed him, hoping that he would take like a hometown discount, and then the Bucks offered him just like this boatload of money. And then I also saw that the Bucks were like, sign it right now, or we're taking the deal off the table. But then the Pacers
Oh
came
shit.
out and said like that they offered him good money, like the same money as everyone else did, basically. So I don't really know what to believe. I think that he probably was okay with leaving, and I don't doubt that the Bucks said like you have to sign right now because it did come kind of out of nowhere. Um, but yeah, C minus, just a whatever off season for them.
It
Um,
is what it is.
the Clippers had 2 draft picks: the 130 Yannick Conan Niederhauser out of Penn State, led the Big Ten in blocks last year with 2.5. He kind of struggled with the pace in college a bit last year, which is very concerning. Good rim player on both sides, like can get putbacks, rebounds, dunks. Uh, can't really pass, isn't a good handler. Maybe a DeAndre Jordan level player. Um, and then at the 250, they got Kobe Sanders out of Nevada. He led the Mountain West in free throws made in 2023-2024. That's all I can say for him. Anyways, they re-signed Nick Batum on a 2-year, 11.5 million with a team option in his age 38 season, and they extend James Harden with a 2-year extension. He declined his $36 million player option and signed a 2-year, $81.5 million with a player option in his age 37 season. They add John Collins in a trade with the Jazz and Heat. They signed Brook Lopez on a 2-year deal, $17.9 million with a team option in his 38-year age season. And they lose Norman Powell in that trade, and Drew Eubanks they waived. So I'll break down that trade. It was the Clippers getting John Collins, the Heat getting Norman Powell, and then the Jazz got Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and a Clippers 2027 second round pick. And then I wrote this in because like one of these two things is going to happen. They're either going to get CP3 or Bradley Beal. It's been like super heavily rumored. It's just like I don't know which one they're going to get.
Really hope it's not Bradley Beal.
I
I
honestly,
feel like that's a really funky fit on this team.
if he's playing like a bench role, like sometimes maybe a swing starter, I wouldn't hate it. I think that he could be like that Norman Powell type guy for them. I think Norman Powell probably he did have his career best season last year. You probably can't expect him to do that consistently at like 33 or whatever he's going into. Um, so I wouldn't hate Beal. They really do need that like another creator on the team. But I think CP3 would be huge for them because they do not have a good second point guard. It's like Kendrick Nunn.
I would love CP3 to go there. He's one of my favorite players from my childhood. Seeing
Mm-hmm.
him go out in LA would be really really
Yeah,
fun because I think it's already confirmed next year is his farewell
yeah, he
if he
did say
comes
that.
back for
Yep.
another season. So, but I love the addition of John Collins. I don't think Norman Powell's that good, honestly. I think I didn't really enjoy watching him on the court during the playoffs. I
Mm.
think he just was like a funky fit for them over the second half of the season. He got off to a really hot start. I was like, wow, this guy's kind of insane.
I
But
wanted him to be an All Star.
yeah, he just like completely started falling off the rails in the second half of the season, and it all came to in the playoffs. So I like the addition of John Collins. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good fit with Harden. Um, I loved the addition of Brook Lopez. I know a lot of people kind of hate Brook Lopez at this point, but as a bench center, I think again the rim protection and the spacing is kind of at a premium for bigs. And even if he's not doing it at as high of a level as he was a couple years ago, he's still good enough at it to where off the bench is good. So I like those additions. I like what they gave out. I like what they brought in. The guy they picked at 30 from Penn State, I don't even know how to say his name. He's like the most obvious G League player ever.
Yeah, yeah, the Niederhauser. Yeah, yeah.
I don't like that pick at all. I don't think he'll play very much for them, and I hope he doesn't because I think he's going to be terrible. But as far as what they did in free agency, I liked the additions that they made through trades and pickups.
Um, yeah, I think the Brook Lopez signing was huge. Obviously that backup big behind Zoo was just a black hole essentially for them. And
Drew
I think
Eubanks.
yeah, like it's. I mean, thankfully they waived him finally, but like they needed that backup big, and so maybe if it's Yannick Niederhauser or if it's Brook Lopez for now, I think getting John Collins is huge. I think he's going to be great with James Harden, like going to be a really solid lob threat, and he could play that 4 swing 5 role for them. This is going to be like a funky big team because they still have Derrick Jones Jr. They still have Kawhi, and so like do they run a Harden blank at the 2, Kawhi, John Collins, Zubac, or do they run like triple DJJ at the 4 and John Collins off the bench? I don't know, but they have a lot of different lineup variations they can go with, and so I think this makes them a little bit more
They still have
like
Dunn.
adaptable. Yeah, they do.
They have a really good defensive team, and I'm really looking forward to watching them next year. Just hopefully Kawhi gives them a healthy season because he had one a couple of years ago. So
Oh, did I say
didn't really
Kendrick
play that
Nunn?
much
I
last
meant
season.
Chris Dunn. My bad.
It's done,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
If I think that's what you said, and then Kawhi gives them a season like he had in 2023, where he plays enough games to
Mm.
qualify for awards and stuff, which I think he will because he didn't have to play that much this season.
Even if he doesn't, I think like James Harden carried them.
Going to be good.
I kind of think it's fair to expect him to do that again next year. This is arguably a better team too. if even if Kawhi plays 50 games or 40 games, I think they'll be fine. They'll probably be near 50 wins again and be within the playoffs or play in. I still feel like they're a top 6 team in the West, especially like Ty Lue doesn't coach losing seasons, and so the draft wasn't great, but I think that they made good moves outside of that. Yeah, I didn't mind their offseason. I gave it a B, but I'll say B plus if they get CP3 or Beal.
Yeah, I really hated their draft, so I'll probably go with a B. I liked the other additions that they made.
Yep. Alrighty. Moving on to the other team in LA, the Lakers. They got one draft pick, Adu Thiero, or Thiero, out of Arkansas. Uh, he's really good rebounder, crazy explosive, like one of the most like high flying, like hard dunking guys in the draft. Quick hands, decent 2-way player. Can't really shoot too well though. Whatever. They re-signed Jackson Hayes on a 1-year minimum. They add DeAndre Ayton after the Blazers buy him out on a 2-year, 16.2 million with a player option in his age 28 season. They get Jake LaRavia on a 2-year, $12 million deal. I love that deal. And then they lose Dorian Finney-Smith for nothing as he walks to the Rockets. What did you think about this awesome offseason for the Lakers?
Jackson Hayes just still being in the NBA
Yep.
boggles my mind, but at least he's a fine backup big, I guess, because he is like a decent fit with Luca. When Ham was there, they were asking him to post up, and he, no exaggeration, might be the worst post up center in the history of the league.
Without a doubt, yep.
So I'm glad that they kind of turned him into more of this lob threat type of big that's running the floor more.
Mm.
So that's whatever. The Lavaria signing, sure, okay. I mean, he's like nothing insane, just a solid role player. And then DeAndre Ayton, I mean, I've always said I think DeAndre Ayton's good. I just didn't want him on the Blazers because he
Yep.
doesn't really fit our timeline.
Mm.
I think he's a good fit with Luca. I think he's gonna have a good season next year. But the thing is, like, your motor has to be consistent, especially with the lights that are going to be shining on you in LA. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot just check out for 2 weeks at a time.
Mm.
Cannot check out when things get tough near the end of the season. Otherwise, you are going to get eaten alive. And if you're a weak-minded player in Los Angeles, it's
It's
one
bad.
of the hardest places to play in all of sports.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, you have LeBron, who there's the rumors he's going to get traded. It's not going to happen. 40-year-old man, no trade clause, nowhere's going to offer that guy a trade that the
Yeah.
Lakers like and LeBron likes. Like, none of that stuff's ever going to all come together into one.
Mm.
He's never going to get traded. I have Luca, who, dieting gimmick again. He's losing weight. He's trying
No,
harder in the
I
offseason.
I will
We'll have
say
to wait and see.
the pictures I've seen, like he actually is skinnier now. He looks a little bit stronger, and he genuinely looks a lot like last year, dude. He was I don't know what he was weighing. It looked like he
He
was
was
like
fat.
two. It was like
He was
280.
fat when he
He
got
was
to
like
LA.
fully like a guard in the NFL, and now he's like maybe back to typical Luca, like can actually move and function level. Um,
And,
yeah,
they still have Reeves. And so I think the Lakers will have like maybe the best offense in the NBA next year and also probably the worst defense in the league. I think they're going
yeah,
to be like very weird team. I think they'll probably hang around like the play in, like bottom of the playoffs area.
dude.
But like you have
LeBron's their best defender.
that's bad.
And he's not even
Like
that good of a
that's
defender
really
anymore.
bad.
Like,
No, he's not.
yeah,
He's
he's like,
legitimately bad defender until
yeah,
he like fully locks in the playoffs, and then he's like probably around average. But it's you have Luca and LeBron, so you have like LeBron at this point not as much, but you have an unreal offensive engine, a great secondary guy. You have Aiton and Reeves, who are great complementary offensive guys, but there still is only one ball, so we'll see what
mm,
happens. But I think they're going to be the best offense in the league next year. But I don't think that will really result in much winning because I don't know how they're going to stop anybody. I think their defense will be more inconsistent than their offense is consistent.
I agree
So
with that.
But as far as their offseason goes overall, I'd probably give it like a C plus. I do like the Ayton addition. I don't really think they lost anything that's significant outside of Finney Smith, but I think Ayton's good enough. Like you're gonna have a massive hole at center
Mhm.
if you don't get Ayton. So I think getting Ayton's a good enough get for it to be like a slightly above average offseason.
So I gave it a D plus. I think I'm like D plus C minus area. Aiton's fine. I think that he will probably, play some of his best career seasons with the Lakers for as long as he's there. Um, Assuming that he's like, you know, back locked into wanting more money or whatever drives him. It seems like that is the main driving thing for him.
Mhm.
Which that's fine. I don't care. But like I think that he will get a little bit more locked in here. Like I said, I really like the Laravia signing. He wasn't great with the Kings, but like nobody was. He a really good like 40% shooter with the Grizzlies, solid defender, really good slashing guy. I think it's just gonna fit the like playing with Luca very well. Losing DFS, I know like you've said a few times now that that's kind of like the Rockets adding him is a bit of whatever, or the Lakers losing him is not that big of a deal. I think it's actually a massive, massive deal. That was their only good defender, like their only plus defender on the entire team, and so besides like Vanderbilt who plays 12 games a season, and so like
It sucks.
yeah, and like yeah he offers nothing on offense, so like his defense is almost a wash then. DFS was a solid offensive player with like the defense to that he would guard the guards, the forwards, the centers, whoever it was that they needed him to guard. He was playing small ball five at times last season. I think that I think losing him was so drastic for them that they're going to suffer for it next season where LeBron is their best defender in their starting five, and we saw it in the playoffs. They played their starting five for an entire first half, like, and DFS was a part of that lineup. I just think that losing him is going to be huge. They added basically nothing to the bench besides Laravia, um, and JJ Redick hates Jackson Hayes. He literally stopped playing him and would rather run starting five for the entire first half because of how bad Jackson Hayes is. That I was shocked they re-signed him. Um, Overall, I just think it was a not a good offseason outside of the two signings they made, and losing DFS almost negates those to a degree. I just think that they could have done so much more. I mean, they were aggressive instantly once they got Luca trying to get Mark Williams, which was like a promising sign, and then their only move they just let every like Brooke Lopez, Clint Capella, Miles Turner, whoever else they let all of those guys go to other teams, and then like Aiton was the only person left on the market, and apparently he almost went to the Pacers too. So like if he doesn't go here, then this is like an F off season.
I think Ian was the best big available once the Blazers bought him out. It was either him or Turner.
Yeah.
So I think the reason I'm not that low on the Lakers offseason is one, I'm not that high on Finney Smith, and two, I think they're kind of just standing put right now. I don't think they're really trying to win yet. I think they're
Mhm.
kind of waiting for LeBron to run his course. Um, they've already kind of told LeBron, it sounds like we're kind of planning for the future. Like we're kind of planning on building around Luca, which
Yeah.
you could argue that this offseason maybe wastes a year that they're going to have with Luca. But with how competitive the West is right now, the Lakers didn't really have much room to get into that top tier of contenders. So I think their plan is probably Luca in for the future, which that is what it is. It is what it is. But they're going to have to find a way to add more wings once LeBron is gone because you're going to have a lot more cap space to work with. I don't know how long Reeves will be around. I know he's got really close relations with LA, but at some point you're going to have to realize that he's going to be a weird fit with the
They
lineup you
they
have,
just
especially
extended him last
defensively.
year.
As it gets to a point where like he's going to be pushing 30 in a year, like you're going to have to move on from him because I don't know. Personally, I'm not that high on Reeves either, but
Yeah, his fit with Luca's not great. Like you more so you need a like the Kyrie level guard, not an Austin Reeves type guard next to Luca, or
mm,
a really good defending guard next to him. Like
mm,
a Nemhard would be just amazing next to Luca.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm low on this offseason. I think that I don't disagree with what you're saying about LeBron. I think that they are waiting for him to move on.
Mm,
I also do. I have a strong feeling that this is LeBron's last season. Um, likely
I
in
hope
the
so.
likely in the NBA or at minimum on the Lakers. But I don't really think that he's the type of guy to like go sign a 1 year somewhere and just like now it's my last season. I think that this just is going to be his last season.
Mhm.
Um, especially like retiring with Chris Paul, like it would make sense. But yeah, I give it a D plus. You gave it C plus, right?
Mm.
I could be argued into C minus, but I don't know. I think their defense is going to suffer so massively, but whatever. Moving on to the Grizzlies. They had three draft picks. Cedric Howard at 111, out of
Love that
Washington
pick.
State. Yep. Some things about him. He started in D3, which everyone has mentioned that, but I think it's just like so impressive that he is now the 11th pick in the draft. Great shooter, really good defense. With solid size. He's 6'5", 213. Can shoot off the dribble, screens, whatever. Good rebounder. He only played 6 games at Washington State because of a shoulder injury. So maybe that's a concern. I don't think it is, but whatever. Then at the 48th pick in the second round, they got Javon Small out of West Virginia. Solid shooter, passer, like a pesty type guy on defense. It's like a McConnell, Darren Collison type guy. And then at the 59th pick, they got Jemai Mashak out of Tennessee, or Mashak. I forget how to say his name. Like crazy good defender, one of the best in the class, no doubt. But that's mostly all he has to offer. Um, so yeah, whatever. They re-signed Salty Adama to a 3-year, $52.5 million deal. They extended Jaron Jackson on a 5-year, $240 million deal. And then they re-signed Cam Spencer on a 2-year, $4.5 million deal. Um, that's a fantastic deal because he went to Rutgers. They added Cole Anthony. They added Cole Anthony when they traded away Desmond Bain to the Magic, and they also got KCP in that deal. They got Ty Jerome on a 3-year deal for 27.6 million. They agreed to a deal with Jock Landale. I don't even know what the money is. I'm assuming it's a minimum, but it's not even out there. And then in that
Cares.
Desmond Bain deal, yeah, who cares? In that Desmond Bain deal, they got a 25 first rounder, 26 first rounder, swap rights with Phoenix or Washington, 28 first rounder, 29 first round swap, and a 2030 first rounder. Um, all of those but one are from the Suns. Or I guess it's gonna be Suns slash Washington. But like all of those, or sorry, no, only one of those is from Phoenix slash Washington. All the other ones are from the Magic. So yeah, and then they lose Desmond Bain in that trade. Obviously, they let Luke Kennard walk to the Hawks, and then they trade Jay Huff to the Pacers and get 2 second rounders. A whole lot was just said there. How do you feel about this offseason?
Well, first off, I love the Coward pick. I thought the small pick was good. I think he kind of fits the culture that they have in Memphis. I actually, the more I thought about the Desmond Bain trade, I really like it from Memphis's point of view.
Yep.
The straight haul of picks you got on its own is insane. I actually like Cole Anthony as a player, which makes it kind of weird to me that they went and got Ty Jerome. I think
They're.
that's like kind of a clash.
I think they're gonna try to move Cole Anthony.
They're going to move Cole Anthony. Okay, so that's whatever then. But Ty Jerome, I've already said I really like him. I think he's a good bench player. We kind of saw he's a weird playoff player, so we'll see how he fits. But
Mm-hmm.
that is what it is. And then KCP, I actually really like. In Orlando, he was kind of the only person on the team who was expected to be able to hit shots, and they don't really have a ton of playmaking on that team.
Yeah.
Now you're playing with John Morant, who's one of the better playmakers in the league. I think he's going to start seeing more open looks. He'll never be on that level he was in Denver again, probably because he'll never play with someone like Jokic again. But
Mm-hmm.
I think Ja will probably lead to a more positive uptick in his production this season. And getting rid of Desmond Bain kind of just it's like they're telling Ja, we're giving you the keys. So it's going to be, I think, a lot more centered around Ja this season than it was already before. And I like that they re-signed Jaren Jackson too. I know there was a lot of rumors about them trading him. I'm glad they brought him back. So they kind of have those two guys in place as their core, and it's the West, so I
Yeah.
don't know how good their team's going to be.
I don't think they'll be a playoff team next year. I mean, they were the 8th seed and they got in through two play-in games this year. I just think like non-playoff teams like the Mavericks or the Spurs are better than them going to next season and probably will lap them. Um, Originally, the Jaren Jackson extension felt like a lot of money, but less than 50 per him, like fine, whatever. Um, yeah, I love the Coward pick. I think that he's just like I think he fits this team very well. He fits like that Memphis, like kind of rougher, like type, um, like that's how they've always been. I feel. I mean, I've always looked at Memphis as like kind of like that grit and grind type team, and
Mm.
I think Cedric Howard can kind of fit that a little bit. Um, Aldama, re-signing is fine. The Cam Spencer deal, he was pretty solid for them. He played in the playoffs for them, and getting him for nothing is whatever. The Desmond Bain trade, I originally thought that it was a ton for the Magic to give up, but if you look at like the outlook on the East and how the Magic feel like they're going to look, which is being one of the best teams in the East for the foreseeable future, giving up your own first rounders isn't that big of a deal. I think getting the Phoenix pick could be huge. Like they're super, super. I mean, it's realistically going to be Phoenix over Washington. I guess it could be Washington, but I think Phoenix is going to be like a bottom three team in the league. I think they're going to be terrible, and so
I don't
um,
know.
like maybe not that bad, but like bottom five. Like they're going to be bad, especially in that stack of a West. Like there's just no chance for them to contend. They won't be like Jazz level because the Jazz might win 10 games, but like Phoenix won't win more than 25. Um, that's just how I'm feeling. I don't even know who their point guard is at the moment. Um, but yeah, I think that this offseason was pretty solid from the Grizzlies. I think they filled in the holes that the Coward pick fills a role sort of the Bane, like similar spot, I guess. Not obviously not the exact same player, but like fits that same position. And getting KCP, like you said, is good 3-point shooter, at least mentor. Ty Jerome, I think, is going to be a good backup big or backup PG. It's definitely not a big. Yeah, I think overall they handled this offseason well and filled the holes to probably not even probably realistically not contend this year, but maybe a year or two away from like retooling the roster and heading back to where they were 3 years ago or so.
Mm.
What was your grade?
Um, come around on the Bane trade. I like their draft. Um, I like the addition of Jerome. I'd probably give it like a B.
Okay, I said B plus. I think that they rotated off of Bane very well. Which most teams when you give away a core piece like that, you don't always continue on to a positive path, and I think they did that pretty well. Moving on to the Miami Heat, they had one draft pick, which was Kasparis Yakachonis at the 20th overall pick in the first round.
Such a
Uh,
Miami Heat player.
yeah, I was surprised by that because like it's honestly not. I mean, I think like it's such a Miami Heat pick where it's like kind of what are we doing, but he's not like your prototypical Heat player. He's a big, lengthy point guard, like a pass first guy, um, crazy ability to get to the line, but like he's not. I don't know. I just feel like they go for like defense or maybe like snipe like a 3-point sniping more rather than Yakachonis, which I mean, I feel like he's sort of like a Goran Dragic, so like it fits the Heat a little bit, but just a little bit surprising of a pick to me. That was their only pick they made in the draft, though. Do you have anything to say about that?
I don't like him. Um, I don't think he's going to be very good. But again, he's playing for Spolstra, and Spolstra has a way of making the players that seem like they're going to be the worst player you've ever seen turn into decent role players. He's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a new page in the book of Greg Popovich in that sense. So, um, if you put once you go to Miami, I kind of just assume you'll be a fine role player,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Could he fix Nurkic?
But he can fix Nurkic, man. Ever since his knee blew up, there's nobody that can fix Nurkic.
Yeah. Well, the Heat re-signed nobody. They added Simone Fontecchio in that Duncan Robinson swap. They re-signed they signed Davion Mitchell to a 2-year, $24 million deal, and then they
Signing
trade for Norman Powell, and they give up Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love. Absolutely, like fantastic,
trade.
fantastic trade for them. They give up two non-players for a almost all-star last year. And they lose Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson. I feel like this was a solid offseason. They didn't like it's not great, but I think they absolutely killed the Norman Powell trade. Just fantastic. Davion Mitchell was pretty solid for them, so that's a good re-signing. And I like Simone Fontecchio a lot. I think he's a good player, probably better than Duncan Robinson. Um, the Alcatronis pick is kind of whatever. It's like, oh, fine. But the only complaint I have is that I feel like they could have gone in more on this team where it's such a weak East, and I think this is a year where literally anybody could be contending. With just a few moves, you're instantly into that group of teams. Like they're all very in that same tier,
Oh,
except for the Cavs for the most part. And
this is what happens when you
mhm.
go ahead.
I just feel like the Heat didn't do enough to really like elevate themselves into that true contending tier.
This is what happens when you make Hawkes and Jovic untouchable. You
Yeah,
don't get anybody that you want in trades. I'm really hoping they don't sign Damian Lillard. I will like bash my head into a wall if I have to watch Damian Lillard play for the Heat ever in my life, his career. As far as their offseason though, as much as I hate Miami, I thought it was pretty good. I'm thinking like I didn't really love their draft picks, but
I
thinking
give
like
it
a
a
B
B.
minus.
Yeah, I give it a B. I think
Yeah, like B minus. I
I
like
think
Powell, so
yeah, I really like. I can't say enough positive things about that Norman Powell trade. I think they absolutely just killed it. Um, it's they trade Kevin Love literally did not play, and Kyle Anderson played, but like you wish he didn't. And so the only like you said, you're not trading Hawkes and Jovic because they're untouchable. It's just like what are we doing? That's just embarrassing. Neither of those players
yeah.
are anything special. At least right now, maybe you think Jovic could be. I would disagree. Um, whatever. Moving on to the Milwaukee Bucks, who had one draft pick, which was Bogoljob Markovic out of Serbia, 6'11", 190, really skinny. Solid, plus shooter, uh, can attack bad matchups, decent rim defender, and really good help defender, okay passer. I say Salty Aldama. Um, they re-signed Kevin. It's a lot. They re-signed Kevin Porter Jr. on a 2-year deal for 10.5 player option in age 26 season. Bobby Portis on a 3-year extension, 3-year 43 player option in age 32 season. Torian Prince on a 2-year $7.1 million contract. Ryan Rollins on a 3-year $12 million player option in age 25. Jericho Sims on a 2-year 5.2. Gary Trent on a 2-year 7.5 with a player option in age 28. Um, how did you feel about those re-signings? We'll go one by one because it's kind of a lot.
The Bucks suck. Um,
Yeah,
for backdooring Dame that way, and what I've heard is it's because he wanted to rehab in Portland,
I,
and
I, but
really,
then
I really hope that's not the case because that would be like pretty scummy.
I saw that Dame said like he because somebody said that and then Dame came out saying like no the Bucks said I could go rehab in Portland they didn't care so I
Okay,
don't think it was that.
so it is what it is then. Um, the business side of the NBA, it sucks, but at the same, like their team, like still sucks. Like they don't have any players around Giannis besides Miles Turner, who is not someone I'm like particularly high on, especially as a two option.
Mm.
Um, that's really like the only thing they did to improve their team. Like every other role player on their team that they re-signed is best and average player, and that's like talking about Bobby Portis, and then everyone else is just a bad NBA player.
Okay.
They really don't like their roster at all. I think they've done a abysmal job of putting a team around one of the best players the NBA's ever seen during his prime, and they happen to luck into a championship off of his greatness. Um, it's just been extreme incompetence, especially in the draft.
Yeah,
Drafting has been
atrocious.
since they lucked the heavens into Giannis in 2013 has been some of the worst drafting by a professional sports team ever. Like, I think Malcolm Brogdon's like their best pick of the last 10 years or something. It's been
Yeah.
completely ridiculous.
So since they got Giannis, Jabari Parker at 2, um,
Actually, was
Rashad
a solid pick.
Vaughn at 17. Yeah, Jabari Parker was supposed to be fantastic. So like that, I completely give him a pass. Thon Maker at 10, Brogdon in the second round, Patrick McCaw as well. They drafted Norman
Yes,
Powell in the second round that year and traded him, or the year before.
of course they did.
DJ Wilson in the first round, DiVincenzo in the first round, Kevin Porter, RJ Hampton, Isaiah Todd, Marjon Beauchamp, AJ Johnson, who they then trade within a year for Kyle Kuzma. Oh my god. And AJ Johnson
Oh, they
looks like
still have
he's
Kyle Kuzma. I didn't even
yeah,
remember that.
AJ Johnson looks
God,
like
their
he's
team's horrible.
and AJ Johnson looks like he's gonna be pretty solid. Yeah, those the all right, I'll just finish the thing. Additions was Miles Turner on a 4-year, 108.8 million player option at age 32. Gary Harris on a 2-year, 7.5 player option at age 32, and they lose Pat Connaughton in the trade to the Hornets. Misic, who they traded for and bought out. Lillard, who they waived, and $113 million stretched over 5 years, and then they let Brook Lopez walk to the Clippers. Um, so I think getting Gary Trent back was huge. I didn't really expect them to. Only for 7.5 million, it felt like really cheap for him. He was obviously a huge part in them making the playoffs and winning a playoff game. Um, Ryan Rollins, I think, is maybe solid. He's still kind of young, so we don't really know. Torian Prince is going to go wherever Darvin Ham goes. Bobby Portis extension is like fine. I mean, they needed to. And then the Kevin Porter extension was decent. Obviously, a bad person, so we don't like him. But I I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent about this offseason. I think like I fully understand why they did the Dame move and then they got Miles Turner because if you keep Dame, you're just like you're just wasting a year of Giannis's prime. And so you're hoping that doing this is going to like get you to be able to start making some moves, but 113 million is just so much money. It's so much money. I don't know. I think that it was a bit of a rash decision. I think even if you waited a year and then did it, I don't know. I'm not. I think that this offseason was the moves made sense, but it was just kind of questionable.
Yeah, they basically just like brought all their pieces back and then swapped out Dame for Miles Turner. In my opinion, that's like down there with the worst off seasons in the league. Um, I'm probably giving this like a D minus or a D.
Mm.
I don't think they did nearly enough to put a team around Giannis that can compete next year. Like they're basically telling Giannis, you are going to have to average 50 points a game, or we are not going to make anything higher than the play-in. And that's probably where I see the Bucks landing next year is like 7, 8 seed.
I think they'll be higher than that just because, like, Giannis is just that good. I think that they'll be like a 6 seed. Um,
I think once you really look at their team, I don't think Giannis is good enough to drag them above the play-in. Like their team is that bad. Like they have next two best players on their team are big men who can't like only one of them can really be on the floor with Giannis at a time.
mm,
So then outside of that, you like literally don't have another good player on your team. Like everybody else is completely garbage. Like your next guy after that is like Kyle Kuzma or Gary Trent Jr. That makes the 2018 Cavs look like a super team. That's completely ridiculous levels of ass. So
yeah.
I'm like fully expecting that team to end up in the play-in next year
Well,
at best.
they did get Gary Harris as well. That's a big signing. like I don't know. I'm kind of
The great Gary Harris.
yeah. I'm thinking like D plus or so. Maybe like maybe C minus. I feel like probably D plus. I think getting those. I think getting all those guys resigned was a big move in itself. Like if you lose KPJ or Bobby Portis or Gary Trent, like you're looking at a team that's you could say is bad or mid at the best to like actually a bad like straight up bad terrible team outside of Giannis. Um, so at least like there's something to work with there. The day move, like I said, I get it. Um, it is like I don't know. It's a weird situation, but it made sense that that was the only thing they could have done to make any sort of move. And then getting Miles Turner, it just feels like a bit of a Brook Lopez replacement. Like he's better, but like it's it's fine, whatever. It's like getting Brook Lopez 6 years ago, whatever, when they got him. So yeah, like I think it's okay, but they needed to do something else because Kuzma's their second best player, and that's gonna haunt them terribly this season. Unless you want to say, I guess Miles Turner's the second best player and Kuzma's the third, but like whatever. Miles Turner shouldn't be like Miles Turner was the third best player
Oh,
on the Pacers, and they had two other really solid starters and a fantastic depth. The Bucks have no depth and questionable other starters, so like it's a rough situation.
their team's horrible.
Yeah. Moving on to the Minnesota Timberwolves, uh, they had two draft picks. They got Joan Beringer out of France, 6'11", 230. He started playing in the summer of 2021. He's mainly a lob threat and like pick and roll cuts, stuff like that. Really quick first step, good shot blocker. Maybe he can learn from Rudy Gobert. I don't know. There's a ton of French people getting drafted, like this year, but like just recently
France is
too.
taking over.
Yeah, and then the
We're gonna
45th
lose to
pick.
them in the Olympics eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, the 45th pick, they got Rocco Zukarski, a 7'2" guy out of Australia. Um, just like a rim running, like put back rebound guy, decent lefty. Like he's a right-handed guy, but he has a left hand too. Sort of like Zach Eady, like when he was coming in, where like it felt like he was super raw, and then Eady added onto some stuff. So I don't know. He's a second rounder. Who knows? Re-signed Joe Ingles on a minimum 1 year. Julius Randle on a 3-year, 100 million with a player option in year three. Naz Reid on a 5-year deal with a player option in the fifth year. It was a 5-year, 125 million. They added nobody. They lose Nikhil Alexander Walker to the Hawks, Luka Garza to the Celtics, Josh Minot to the Celtics.
I'm not really a huge fan of this offseason. I don't really know much about the guys they drafted, so I won't say anything about their draft. But
Mm-hmm.
um, Oz Reed is I think he kind of showed in the playoffs that he's not really going to be much of a playoff player going down the road. He just doesn't really have that type of play style that works in the playoffs. He's very inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Randle, I liked that contract. I thought that was a really good contract for him, so I'm glad they signed him. I think he just fits better in Minnesota than he's fit anywhere else in his career. And the big thing for me is like you didn't get a point guard. Like
Yeah,
you're going into next season with Rob Dillingham and Mike Conley as your point guards,
Rob with
and
chips.
I don't even know if Dillingham is like really
Ready yet?
like I know
Yeah.
he has to play point guard, but
Mm-hmm.
he's not like I don't know. I don't really see him as like a primary playmaker for your team any point in his career. It feels like he kind of clashes with some of the players they already have
Mm-hmm.
with the ball in their hands on their team. So I guess Anthony Edwards is going to be their point guard this
Again,
season. Um,
he played so much point guard last year, dude, and it's like he's like he. I mean, you could see game by game he was adapting, like, and he was getting better as a playmaker, no doubt. Like Anthony Edwards is one of the best players in the league, no doubt about it. He's like he is clearly just adaptable to like grow his game in any facet you need him to. But he's not a point guard. He is a shooting guard, and like if he played next to a legitimate point guard, we've seen it. He can be fantastic, but you can't give him 47-year-old Mike Conley or 12-year-old Rob Dillingham. Like you need something in the middle there.
yeah, Um,
And,
and
and they drafted like two centers. It's just like, what are we
yeah,
doing?
you just have a log jam at center, and I expect Anthony Edwards to jump into like the top 5 player in the league, like cemented conversation next year.
He's gonna be an MVP
I
candidate
think that
next year. Like he won't win it,
yeah,
but he'll be in that convo because for this team to be like a play-in or playoff team, he needs to like 36-6 or something. Like he's gonna have to have a really good season.
and yeah, I think we'll probably start to see him enter his peak next season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for that. But as far as what the Timberwolves did to kind of build the team around him, they kind of just brought back bigs, drafted bigs, big, and there's no point guard there. So
Yep.
you're either betting on Dillingham just being an insane point guard right away, or you're like, I don't know, you're just going to have to rely on Anthony Edwards to be your point guard again. So as far as what the Timberwolves did, I'd probably give it like a C minus. I wasn't a huge fan of their offseason.
Yeah, I'm giving it a C, maybe C plus, just because like there was a solid chance. There was a lot of rumors that they could have lost Nas Reed or Julius Randle, and so getting them both back, I think, is an achievement in itself. I mean, Julius Randle was pretty solid for them last year. Nas Reed, although like the playoff concerns, he was a good regular season player. And neither of those contracts are like so much money that you're, suffering from them. Losing Nikhil Alexander Walker's really, I think, big though.
Yeah.
Like that was just he's such a similar player to Jaden McDaniels, but when McDaniels was off the court, you just have that other lengthy, like switching defender to come back out, and like the other team just doesn't get a break, and so now they will. Um, I think it's is going to hurt them, no doubt about it, and I think this offseason, like this lack of an offseason for them versus the good offseason for other teams, really did knock them down a tier in the Western contention.
I think they'll be probably in the play-in next year.
Yeah, I think they'll be like seven, like six at best, probably seven ish. Um,
Yeah, that's yeah.
yeah. Moving on to the Pelicans, um, they had three draft picks. Jeremiah Fears at the 107 out of Oklahoma.
pick.
Yeah, I like the pick a lot. I mean, crazy good slasher, like one of the best getting to the line guys in college last year. Definitely needs to bulk up a bit. I mean, he's only 6'3", 180. But the Pelicans are not contending for the finals next season, so like he's got time. I comp him to like Jaden Ivey kind of. Um, I think that I like Jeremiah Fears though. He's good. They trade up for Derek Queen in the first round in the 113 out of Maryland. Great footwork, really good inside the paint game with like floaters, layups, putbacks, whatever. Um, he was playing sort of a point center role a lot of the time for Maryland last year. I'm just a big Derek Queen fan. I think that he's very versatile. He hunted mismatches super well last year. Like if you got a smaller guy in him, he would back him down to the paint with ease. My comp is sort of like a Zach Randolph, Julius Randle mix, and I think that he could potentially reach those heights. I think that I like Derek Queen a lot. I know there's questions about his defense, and was the trade worth it? Whatever. I think he's a good player though. And then at the 40th overall pick, they got Micah Petey out of Georgetown. Um, good hands, good defensive instincts. Had 2.3 steals per game in his graduate seasons. Shot 40% as from three. Like I don't know a comp. He's just decent 3-and-D guy. How do you feel about those three picks? Two picks.
I don't know much about the last guy, but
Yeah.
Fears, I liked that pick. Um, Queen, like I said, I thought they just gave up too much to get him. I don't really see him being worth what they gave up to get him, especially if they're not like immediately back in playoff conversation next year. That pick
Mm-hmm.
being unprotected is really going to hurt them in the long run.
Do you like Derek Queen though, like as a player?
Um, he's all right, I guess. I don't know. His play style's kind of funky to me. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it really will translate to the NBA that well. Um,
Oh,
like you said, he's got his problems defensively that people are worried about. Um, his profile, his like size profile is kind of weird. I don't know if he's going to play the 4 or the 5 at the next level.
Yeah, 6'9", 248 is definitely a little bit different. That's why I said like a Zach Randolph, Julius Randle, where it's like plays the 4 but could swing 5 maybe. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. I he's a funky fit a little bit. And especially with like a Zion already, and you have Eves Missy. I think that it's gonna maybe Zion goes to the 3. Maybe they play some point Zion, but they just got Jordan Poole. It's a weird situation going on there. Um, anything else from the draft picks you wanna hit on? Okay.
Uh,
They re-signed nobody. They add Sadiq Bey. In the Wizards trade, they signed Kevon Looney to a 2-year, $16 million with a team option in the second year. Jordan Poole also in that Wizards trade. They lose Bruce Brown as he walks to the Nuggets. C.J. McCollum traded to the Wizards. Kelly Olynyk was traded to the Wizards and then traded to the Spurs afterwards. Um, they gave the Hawks, like we said, the best of the swap for Bucks Pelicans 26 first rounder. And then they also traded like a week before Halliburton gets hurt. They traded the Pacers back their own first rounder and got back the 2025 uh, 23rd pick, which they ended up being Asa Newell to the Hawks, and then they used that to trade up for Derek Queen. And then they also got the draft rights to Mojave King. Um, that Jordan Poole trade was, let me just confirm for sure. Yeah, so the Pelicans got Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and Micah Peavy. And the Wizards got McCollum, Olynyk, and a 2027 second rounder. Um, I don't know. It was a decent trade. I didn't mind the trade for the Pelicans. I think that Jordan Poole is a better player right now and moving forward than CJ. I know.
100%.
Yeah, it was like a money move they were trying to do. I don't know. I didn't mind it. Sadiq Bey is just a throw-in player. Who cares? The Kevon Looney move was kind of strange to me, but I guess they needed another backup center. They did have that. I'm blanking on his name. It's like Mirotic. Um, the, their backup center that they had last year. But how did you feel about this offseason?
It's whatever. Like I said with the draft, I think they had a historically bad draft night trade. Um, in terms of who they added, I like the Jordan Poole trade. I think it's just a straight upgrade over McCollum. Sadiq Bey's okay, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much play he's going to get with all the wing talent they have on their team. But there's a lot of young players on their team right now, and a lot of guys that are still developing and figuring out how they fit in with each other on the team. So Trey Murphy kind of had a chance to develop last year. Herb Jones is probably back healthy this year.
Mm-hmm.
Murray's back healthy this year. You have Poole now, so it's kind of a weird collection of players, but there's a lot of talent there. So I guess what their thought process was with trading their next year's pick is that this year is when all the talent's going to stay healthy and develop into this playoff team. I mean, I guess like 100 percentile outcome, they definitely could. But in terms of what they did just this off season, I'm not too high or too low on it overall. I'm probably thinking like a C.
Mm-hmm. I give it a B-. They, I think they did well. With moving on from CJ, which they should have done probably a year earlier. They should be getting DeJounte Murray back relatively soon. I like the 2 draft picks in the first round, and I like getting Jordan Poole. I've always been pretty high on him. I liked him on the Wizards, but I understand why the Wizards moved on from him, and I like him on the Pelicans. I think that he is an underrated player. But the picks that they gave up for moving up for Derek Queen and the Pacers pick was a little strange. But I mean, at the time, I get it because I thought the Pacers were going to be good next year. But whatever. I gave it a B-. You gave it a C. Moving on to the New York Knicks. They had 1 draft pick. It was the 51st pick in the draft. They drafted Mohamed Diawara, 6'8" guy out of France. He's a draft and stash guy. He's going to have one of the longest wingspans and standing reaches in the entire NBA if he does play, which is pretty crazy. Um, They re-signed nobody, and they added Jordan Clarkson on a 1 year minimum and Gershon Yabusele on a 2 year, 11.2 million with a player option in the second year, and they lost nobody. Very simple offseason. I did not hate this offseason at all from them though. How did you feel?
Uh, Clarkson is a very hit or miss player, I think.
Mostly
When
miss.
you're playing in Utah, it's hard to judge because he's out there just chucking shots on a team that's winning 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think he's decent off the bench in New York. It's always interesting to see how players translate to these bigger markets because there's a lot more pressure on them to perform, especially this season where New York's going to probably be the second favorite team to win the East. Um, Abu Sele, we'll see. I mean, again, Philly, a team that sucked. He kind of had a lot more opportunity than he's going to have in New York. So we'll see how he is in a much more downsized role here.
Mm-hmm.
Those two additions don't really move the needle for me too much with them. Like you said, their draft guy, the guy they drafted, isn't really going to play. But they didn't really make any move that makes me think, oh, this is a team that will definitely win the East now. Just a team that, same as last year, could win the East. So I'd say they haven't really done that much. I'd probably just give it a C as well.
I I'm a little higher on this offseason. I think that I really like Yabu a lot. He did have a bigger role than he's going to have now last year with the Sixers, but he had a pretty big market. I know the Spurs were really trying hard to get him. Um, Apparently, the 76ers offered him like dirt cheap, nothing, like probably like a minimum, and so that's why he left. But I think it's a big get for the Knicks. Their depth was absolutely putrid last season. I mean, Tibbs, was always playing their starting five or six basically the whole game. That's how he always has been. But a big part of that was because they had no depth, and even when they tried to go to the depth in the postseason, it was uh, Landry Shamet or whatever else, and so it wasn't that good. I think getting Yabu stirs up that backup big, not necessarily a five, but he could play the backup four a decent bit. Jordan Clarkson is a decent backup two. He can kind of fill that like campaign role. I think getting Yabu in specific is going to be big for them. That they have another big that they could play. Whether they are going to stick with the Cat Mitchell Robinson starting duo, or they stick Cat back at the five and have Mitchell Robinson off the bench. I think it's I think that it offers them a little more versatility um, throughout the game.
I'm interested to see what happens to the rotation this year now that Brown's coaching. Um, I
I
don't
think
even
it's
know how much I like him over Dibbs. They're like pretty similar tier coaches,
I'm
I
not a
think.
big Mike Brown
But
fan. I think he's kind of
it,
whatever.
I'd even argue he's probably worse than Dibbs if I had to choose. But like it's just a style difference that could make them better, even if he's not as good of a coach. They
Mm-hmm.
might just use their bench a little more.
Yeah, he moves the ball more too. It's a little bit less ISO ball,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
which
which
could be
will be
interesting for
interesting to see with
yeah
Brunson.
yeah because Brunson. I saw a stat the other day that he averaged the most uh, dribbles per like isolation and seconds with the ball, which I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, I give it like a B minus. I think it's a decent offseason. I think they probably could have done a little bit more. I was kind of hoping they were going to trade Josh Hart, but with all the injuries and everything, it's sort of similar to Cleveland, where it's just retool a little bit, add a little bit, and stay the course. Moving on to the best offseason of all, the Thunder. Um, they had two draft picks. They first one was the 15th pick. They got Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown, 6'9", 263. He had foot surgery in February, so he missed the end of last season, and then he also is going to miss the entirety of summer league. But he's a really good passer, really good roller. He's like a general hub type of big man. Um, Really good defender. He's a great shot blocker. He's a great rim defender in general. Um, my comp for him is like a Jabari Smith Jr. or I see him as a kind of like an Isaiah Hartenstein. Like the first time I watched him, I thought about Isaiah Hartenstein, just like the catch the ball at the nail and like really good bounce passes or lobs over people. Um, I think like the Thomas Sorber to Chet lob is going to be a really consistent, solid thing eventually down the line. And this is just the Isaiah Hartenstein replacement. And then they got Brooks Barnheiser at the 44th pick, 6'6", 230 out of Northwestern. Really good two-way player. Decent playmaker and like a big energy guy. I've like every interview I've seen, all of the coaches have been praising him. Every interview I saw from the Northwestern coach, he was praising him. And he's 6'6" with a 6'11" wingspan, which is pretty cool. Um, so yeah, I think two decent picks. They've both, or Thomas Sorber hasn't, but Brooks Barnheiser has been really solid in the summer league that they were playing before, like the Utah one and whatever else they were in. He had like the first game, I think he had like 13 rebounds, which is pretty crazy. But most of this offseason has been about their resignings. They got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on a 4-year, $272 million extension, the most ever. Chet Holmgren on a 5-year, 239 rookie max. I think it goes up to like 250 at the most. AJ Mitchell on a 3-year, 8.7 million with a team option in age 25 season. J Will on a 3-year, 24 with a team option in age 25 season. They didn't add anybody, and then they lost Dylan Jones to the Wizards in a trade where they traded him and they got back like somebody else and they cut him. And then Alex Dukas went to Australia. Um, how did you feel about this offseason? I loved it personally.
Um, as far as like the signings, just doing what you have to do, locking up your guys for the future, which I think those contracts will age well as the salary cap continues to rise.
Definitely.
I think that they haven't extended JW yet, but I think it's probably coming pretty soon.
Yeah, I think they're like all the talk is like they're actively doing it. They're trying to figure it out. It'll be any day now, and it'll be the same as
Yeah.
Chet. Like whatever, it'll be more because he made All NBA and All Star and stuff. But like same deal, just rookie max, give it to him.
I love the Sorber pick. I like you said, just a Hartenstein replacement because they know Hartenstein's gone after this next year.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people talk about, oh, do we trade Hartenstein this season? I don't think so. I think just keep him, run it back, try to win another chip. You like both sides know not coming back together after this season, so might as well just go for one more
Mm-hmm.
while you have him, and then just have Sorber come in as the replacement afterwards. There's no reason to move on early.
Yeah,
Um,
and I feel like Sorber is like you said the Isaiah Hartenstein replacement, but I think he's even a better defender than him, at least
yeah,
projects to be. And so like even if you maybe is a little bit worse of a passer, which he might be because Isaiah Hartenstein is really like a special big man passer. That defense makes up for it 100%. I think a Chet Sorber duo is going to be ridiculous on the in the paint, and I don't know who's scoring on them.
yeah. And when I say Hartenstein replacement, I don't necessarily mean like a 1-1 replacement, more so
Yeah,
that he's
just
just going to
he
be the
fills
guy
the
who
role.
fills in
Yeah,
after he's gone.
yeah.
Um, yeah, as far as it's not really the same as the Celtics who kind of did what they needed to do. I think Thunder doing what they needed to do is a little more of a. I think they a little more pushing them towards contention rather while the Celtics was kind of just doing what they had to do to open money up for the future. So for the Thunder, I'd probably give them like a B this offseason, like nothing too crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
doing what you had to get done.
So I think our grades, like our grading scales, were a little bit different because I gave them an A or A plus, and it's not in a bias sense, but in the sense of like they did what they need. Like they couldn't really do that much. They just won the championship, and so unless they were gonna blow up the team and trade J Dub or something, like I think getting AJ Mitchell back on a 3-year, 8.7 million is insanity. He was really solid for them last year before getting hurt, and he was played legitimate finals minutes and throughout the entire playoffs. That J Will contract is pretty solid, only 8 million for your third center who has been great against Jokic. The Chet contract is good and I think is going to age fantastically. Especially him not winning any awards or really any achievements yet is like fantastic for his rookie extension because I 100% in this 5-year rookie max guarantee there's a depoy and at least one championship. And so like I think it's going to just age perfectly. And then the Shea contract's good, and I like the 2 draft picks. Maybe it's like I said, I think our just grading scales are different. I did it a little bit on like where does this put you into contending, but also like how much did you improve, or like based on the realistic moves you could have made, how did you like do with those? I guess you could put it in the B or B plus area. I think that's also fair because they didn't really do anything drastic, but I just think that they made the smart moves. Um, yeah, moving on from them. Now we have the Magic. The Magic had two draft picks. The first one was Chase Richardson at 25, 6'1", 178 out of Michigan State. The son of 14-year vet Jason Richardson. 15 games starting last season, he shot 47% from the field, 42% from three. He had a 3.9 GPA, which is kind of cool, good for him. Just a crazy good movement shooter, flying off screens, pick and rolls, like pull up threes, mid ranges, everything. Really good shooter. Kind of reminds me a bit of Jared McCain last year. And then at the 32nd pick, they got Noah Penda, 6'8", 225 out of France. Just
French guy.
Yeah, another one. Basically, every team has one. Really good three-level scorer, like consistent from all three levels. Can play either small forward or power forward. Good connecting piece on offense. Okay passer. Really good help defense. Like maybe a Jaime Jaquez kind of guy is what I've seen him comp to a bit. He was on. I'm pretty sure he was on the same team as Noah Senge, because they were in the championship of their France league. Noah Senge came over and left in the middle of the finals to go to the draft. Noah Penda stayed. I'm pretty sure, and they did end up winning it. They re-signed Paolo to a 5-year extension, 240 million, with a player option in his age 28 year. Mo Wagner on a 1-year, 5 million. They added Desmond Bain in that Grizzlies trade. They signed Tyus Jones to a 1-year, 7 million. And then they lose Cole Anthony and KCP in that trade. Gary Harris walks, and then they traded the 5 firsts for Desmond Bain. I don't mind this offseason at all. I think it was pretty solid. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I love the Desmond Bain trade for them with how the East is looking again.
Mm-hmm.
Probably catapults them into top 4 seed pretty easily next year.
Yep.
Something they really badly needed. Another creator on the team. Paulo and Wagner are kind of playing with a team that just doesn't have any spacing. So Bain offers you more of that since he can kind of do more with the ball in his hands than KCP could. And he's just a flat out better shooter than KCP is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think they have a really solid core in place. They're still going to be a really good defense. I don't really know too much about their draft, but in terms of
Yeah.
in terms of adding Bane and like the things they gave up to get him, I think they had a fine offseason and they'll be in contention next year.
I can speak for Chase Richardson. He's like, I mean, he's 6'1",
Oh, Richardson.
yeah, 6'1",
Yeah,
178 is he's very small, but he's just like a high flying, fast guard. He's like a true point guard, and I think that he's going to fill that role huge for them because their point guard now is Suggs. Maybe it's going to be Anthony Black, but like we don't really know how good he's going to be. And so if it is Chase Richardson, like he fits their main role, which they needed, which was point guard. They definitely could need another center. I don't think that Wendell Carter and Goga Batadze is the long term answer there if you're trying to really contend. But they have Paolo, they have Franz, um, still having Suggs, like I said, and then now getting Desmond Bain. It just adds to that defense. It adds to their shooting. I think it rounded out their offense overall, which they really desperately needed because their offense was so putrid last season. They haven't had a top 20 offense in the last, I think, like 20 years. And so um, it's
saying really even 2009.
maybe I think maybe it's since then. Maybe I don't even remember.
Okay, I was gonna say 2009. They had to have.
Yeah, they probably did, but like it's been over 15 years. I know that. So
Um,
yeah, it's
I actually do. I forgot about Jace Richardson. I actually wasn't that big of a fan of him being picked. Just think his size is going to be a problem for him.
he needs to bulk up for
Not
sure.
because really because I don't really see any point guard qualities in his game. I see him more as a two, and I just think his size is weird for the two position. But like you said, we saw with Jared McCain, like you don't necessarily have to have the size to play the two, but
Mm.
we'll see how it fits. I think I'm not too high on him coming into the league.
Well, I mean, Jason Richardson has a really good career, so maybe he can pick up something from that. Who knows? But overall, I think it was a pretty solid offseason. I gave it a B.
Yeah, I agree. I'll probably give it a B as well.
Yeah. Moving on to the Philadelphia 76ers. They drafted two players. The first one was VJ Edgecombe at the third overall pick. They
Fantastic pick.
yeah, fantastic pick out of Baylor. One of the most athletic players in the draft, without a doubt, maybe the most athletic. Just a great two-way player. It's like really solid defense, quick hands, can get out fast on the fast break and transition. Great first step. Kind of a D Wade comp a little bit for him. Very twitchy. Needs some work on the 3-point shot to truly take like that leap into potential stardom, which he totally looks like he could be. Out of the two or three summer league games he played, he was just dominant. And then he just got like a thumb sprain or something, so he's going to be out for a game. But good, decent size, 6'4", 193. I'm a big fan of him. I feel like basically everybody is. And then their other pick was Janai Broom at the 35th overall pick out of Auburn. The Karl Malone Award winner, SEC Player of the Year. Decent backline defender, good finisher, rim runner, rebounder type guy. Has a solid floater game. I kind of see like a Jay Will for him, maybe with a little bit less of a 3-point shot. Um, 6'9", 249 is a bit of a similar size too. Yeah, just kind of makes sense for me. Really great player at Auburn though. At Auburn, felt like he was there for 15 years.
Janai Broom is what, 25 years old?
Something like that, yeah.
We'll see.
Which like is a good pick for the Sixers because
He's 22. Wow.
it
I think
felt like
it's
he's
somebody
definitely
else.
older than that.
So he's still got room to
Yeah,
grow.
but like an older rookie is smart for them, especially as a center because there's a good chance he's playing this year.
Yeah. With how inconsistent Embiid is with staying on the floor, there's a good chance we'll probably see him this year. Edgecombe, I thought was a slam dunk pick at 3. I had him as the second best player in the draft once I kind of was combing through all the prospects.
Was Dylan Harper one?
Sorry. VJ Edge. So I love the VJ Edgecombe pick. Guy Broom is whatever. I didn't really like watching him at Auburn, but he could be like a solid backup player in the NBA, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I thought VJ Edgecombe was a slam dunk pick for them at 3.
Yeah, their re-signings and everything. They got Justin Edwards on a 3-year, $7 million deal with a team option in the third
Really
year.
good.
Great contract. Like was a good player from last year and 3 year 7. Like I don't know who your agent is, but that's a bad deal for Justin Edwards because he's gonna outplay that. He's gonna outplay that quickly. Eric Gordon on a
100%.
1-year minimum. Kyle Lowry on a 1-year minimum. They add Trenton Watford on a 2-year, $5 million with the team
Another
option.
good signing.
And yeah, another really solid signing. And then they lose Yabu. I think overall the Sixers had a solid offseason for sure. Their highlight obviously is VJ Edgecombe, who, potentially with him and McCain and Maxey, you're looking at a legitimate guard trio of the future of this team. And they're kind of doing what the Warriors couldn't, whereas like they can contend now and they're building for the future very well. They kind of have two timelines with Embiid and Paul George, and then like I said, the 3 guard trio. I like their outlook. I think this draft and the overall offseason was pretty solid for them. Borderline second apron teams. They couldn't really do too much, but I think that the Justin Edwards and Trent Watford moves are filling holes or re-signing holes that were pretty good.
And I think that was kind of the question coming into this offseason for the Sixers is which of these two timelines are they going to go down? And that they've just decided that they're going to balance both,
Mm-hmm.
which is definitely the hardest decision to make. But so far, it looks like they're doing a pretty good job of it.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see next season if they can stay healthy because I think a healthy Sixers team is one of the 3 best teams in the East next year.
I agree. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think if they're actually healthy and Embiid plays 50, which I don't expect that to happen, but if it does, this team, like I think I might take them to win the East. I think that this is a very complete team. Right now, their depth chart has Edgecombe as their starting 3 and Quentin Grimes at the 2. I kind of think McCain starts because he's like better. It feel hard to believe that they start McCain and Edgecombe. They do have Kelly Oubre still, and like I said, Quentin Grimes.
Are they starting Paul George at the 4?
That's what it says. Because they
Wow.
lost Yabu, and so like it's either that or they start like Justin Edwards at the 4 or
The team is going to
Kelly Oubre at the
suck
4.
at rebounding.
Yeah, and like if Embiid goes down, it's Drummond and Adem Bona. So like and Janai Broom. So that they could
Drum,
really use another 4.
yeah, they need to try and get another big because even like when Embiid's not a very good rebounder for his size, so
Mm-hmm.
that team is going to be really horrible at rebounding. That could be a problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the current free agents to see like who's available.
Did they re-sign Grimes?
They, I think so. Let me look it up.
I never saw anything about that. I thought he was going to go to the Rockets.
Yeah, there was a lot of
I
talk about
guess
it.
the Rockets probably don't have room for that
Um,
anymore.
I guess they still haven't extended him, or he's
He's
got.
restricted though, so he's
Yeah,
probably
he's a
still going to
restricted.
be
Yeah,
there.
he's just gonna come back. I'm looking at the free agents right now. It's like there's Marvin Bagley, Chris Boucher, Al Horford, Trey Lyles, Precious Achua. Like I think Achua would be a good signing for them because not as a starting 4, but just like to fill that gap. Um, it- but Bagley probably like I think Bagley would be a very solid signing for them. They should probably look into that because they whether it's a starting 4, probably not, but they really need somebody to be that backup 4 that can still play 22 minutes a game. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but overall, I give it a B minus. I think maybe even a B. I think just mainly just Justin Edwards, Watford, and Edgecombe are like your main prizes here, and Edgecombe is just like makes this offseason complete. Really, if even if it was a bad offseason otherwise, Edgecombe makes it a good offseason.
I think I'm giving it a. I'll probably give this one a B as well.
Yeah, very very overall solid offseason, no doubt about it. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns. They drafted 3 different players. Um, First one, Kaman Malawach at the 110, 7-footer out of Duke. Shot 84% in his 5 tournament games this year, which is just insane. He was a guy around the rim this year, like a lot of putbacks, lobs, rebounds. His shot looked like the form of it looked decent, but it never like he was ever that good of a 3-point shooter or like a deep mid range shooter or anything like that. Great rim defender, really good shot blocker. Like I said, good rebounder. Like just a very intense interior guy. And I see like a Klingon Hassan Whiteside mix for him. Um, to Blazers legends. Then they trade for Rasheer Fleming at the top of the second round at the 31st pick. 6'8", 230 out of St. Joe's. I know this is DJB's guy. Shout out New Jersey. He's from Camden, I'm pretty sure. He made 62 3-pointers in the 2024-25 season, 6 more than his 2 previous seasons combined, which is insane. It really shows his potential growth as a 3-point shooter. Very active defender, good at blocking and quick hands, getting steals out in the passing lanes. Shot 53, 39% in his junior seasons. Just a 3-and-D role player, I think, can fit, basically is a kind of plug and play, can fit anywhere type guy. And then they got Kobe Brea at the 41st pick, 6'6" out of Kentucky. Made 43.5% of his threes at Kentucky. 71.9% of his field goal attempts were 3-pointers, which is just insanity. In his final 2 seasons, he made 46.5%. It's just like a AJ Green, like Sam Merrill level like type guy. Which are very like those are helpful players, no doubt about it.
I absolutely loved the Suns draft. I
Yeah,
thought,
I think they went
how,
three
how
for
do you say
three.
it? Is it Malich?
Come on, Malawach.
Malawach? Yeah. Malawach, I really liked him as a prospect. I forget where I had him. I think I had him like near the top 5 on my board. I really liked him as a
Mm-hmm.
prospect, so I love that. They have Mark Williams too, so now I think with those additions, they have pretty like a really good foundation at center for the
Yeah,
future.
they went from
Um,
having literally like one of the worst center rotations in the league to potentially realistically completely like their center position is locked in, done. They don't even have to address it.
mhm. Fleming, I really loved that pick in the second round. I was actually surprised that he fell to the
Mm-hmm.
second round.
Yeah,
I didn't follow what happened to his college career. Did he have an injury or something that made him drop?
no, I saw a lot of people were questionable about the 3-point shot. Not sure that it's actually going to be legit, which I think is
Oh, okay.
fair because it was just like he was bad his first 2 seasons and then was pretty pretty good his third season, but like just it might have been just one good season there. But he's a really good defender. And then like you said, you really like Kobe Bryant too.
And I love Kobe Bryant. Yeah, that's a really good pick and for value in the second round. So I thought they had a slam dunk draft. I already mentioned they picked up Mark Williams in a trade. I thought that was a really good addition for them as well. So actually, and they just re-signed Devin Booker yesterday, I think.
They did. For
So
re-signing Devin Booker on a 2-year, $145 million extension, insane. And
it's
then they got
fat, but
yeah, they have to do it. And then they got Colin Gillespie on a 1-year, $2.5 million contract, which he was pretty solid for them last year, and potentially could be their point guard this year. Who knows? Um,
I think
yeah.
uh,
They added Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green in the 7-team trade, along with 2 second rounders. They got Nigel Hayes Davis on a 1-year, $2 million. The 2025 EuroLeague champion and Finals MVP, as well as Turkish Cup champion and MVP. He played at Wisconsin with Frank Kaminsky, and he was in the NBA for like a little bit.
Kaminsky.
And then like you said, they trade for Mark Williams from the Hornets. They give up a 2029 first round pick, the least favorable of Cleveland, Utah, and Minnesota, and pick 29, which was Liam McNeely. They lose Kevin Durant in that Rockets trade and Tyus Jones, who walks to the Magic. They waive Kobe Martin. They trade Misic in the Mark Williams trade, and then they let Mason Plumlee walk as well. Overall, I love this offseason from them. I feel like they
Yeah.
rotated off of a KD trade, which we've like kind of seen with other teams. The Nets kind of stayed complacent a little bit and like kept Mikal Bridges too long, kept Cam Johnson too long. I mean, they got a lot from Mikal, but like, it's just like I feel like they could have made moves faster, and I think they, I think they just rotated off it well. I'm not a huge Jalen Green or Dylan Brooks fan, but whether they keep them long term or trade them soon, whatever, I think the return was pretty solid, and their rotation into getting the centers was just like masterful. They went from Bol, Nick Richards, Yusuf Nurkic last season to Malawach and Mark Williams, who are both day one better than all three of those players and are long term legitimate actual players. Like Mark Williams, if this injury history is behind him, whatever this medical concern is, like this is fantastic. You just got two
Mhm.
actual centers. Like that's rare.
Mhm. Yeah. I was gonna say the Suns might be in like I might give them an A minus or
They got.
something in that range
I gave him an
because
A. This is just. I feel
the
like
only thing
every move was good.
the only thing keeping me at a B plus right now is because they haven't bought out Bradley Beal yet.
It
I think that's imminent.
Yeah. It like every
So
report is it's happening like any day. I've seen more reports
okay.
about where
So
he
if
might
that
go than if he might get bought out.
I think well if that's like imminent then I'll probably give the Suns an A minus. This is one of my favorite off seasons.
And as we're recording, Jalen Williams has agreed to a 5-year maximum rookie contract extension that could reach $287 million.
Dude, the second apron's gonna kill OKC, man.
Oh God, man! Oh no! Good thing we have Aaron Wiggins and Caruso signed for less than 30 combined for the next 5 years. We're
Some of the
okay,
best contracts in the whole sport and enough draft picks to
dude.
sink a
I can't
cruise ship.
believe we got Aaron Wiggins on. I think it was like a 550 or like 555. Just like him signing a 5-year deal after a good season, like prior to this previous season. Just like when he did that, my jaw was to the floor. Like, why would he sign a 5-year deal? Insane. But love him for
Section
that.
of NBA Twitter that thinks the second apron is going to ruin OKC's dynasty,
Nah.
whatever potential dynasty they think they have, and is
Yeah,
like so excited that they're going to suck in a couple of years, are the dumbest group of people on the entire app because
yeah.
they just fundamentally misunderstand OKC's future plan.
Yeah, like it certainly impacts their future, but as long as they continue to hit on draft picks, which like we have seen for the last 10 years, OKC has regularly hit on their draft picks. Like I have no reason to believe that like there is a
So,
legitimate worry coming here.
like, it's not like it's just going to be their picks and their grabbing at straws with the last pick of the first round every year. They have like everybody else's
Yeah,
picks, and like half of these picks are going to be like lottery, maybe even like top 5 picks.
exactly.
So
Yeah, you have Clippers
it,
swaps. You got like Jazz first rounders. You got like you have Nuggets first. I think you have the Nuggets first in like 2029 or something. Like just all of these
there's a
picks.
chance
Yeah.
there's a chance they're going to keep bringing stars in and just having them on cheap contracts.
Hmm.
So people shouldn't expect like Sam Presti has masterfully put together this plan for the last 7 or 8 years, and
Yeah.
Jamf helps
yeah,
you succeed
it's
with Apple device
not going
management.
anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, their picks like you got a Utah top 8 protected next year, a Philly top 4 protected next year, and your own. And then like you got a Clippers swap the next year, a Denver top 5 protected, Spurs top 16 protected because they got that when they traded back with the Kings.
Mhm.
The next year like Dallas swap, you don't even have your own that year. You have a Denver swap like the next year. You have like just every year basically you have at least one, more realistically, 2 first rounders for the next 5 years. And if not 2, like 3 or 4. They're gonna continue to run into the situation where they're gonna have to trade or cut like the Dylan Jones. Like I wouldn't be surprised if um shoot, what is his name? Brooks Barnheiser's like off the team in 2 years because they just can't even roster him. So yeah, they're like that's their biggest worry at this point. But they're it's not even a worry. But back to the Suns. Gave it an A. You gave it an A. Great offseason for them, no doubt about it. Um, moving on to the Trailblazers. Um, they had one draft pick. They got Yang Hansen at the 16th overall pick. 7'1", 250 out of China. Averaged 16 and a half, 10 and a half, 3 assists and 2.5 blocks on 59-33 in his second season in the Chinese Basketball Association. Like widely regarded to have one of the best combines this year. Shot up the draft boards rapidly after that. Really good post player, can score and pass at basically all 3 levels. Like a flashy passer. Some of my favorite tape and highlights from this draft is Young Hansen. I'm a big fan of him. I see a lot of Sengun in the way he plays. I don't know if he reaches that height. I think he also could be a better defensive Sengun, but I'm a big fan.
Um, when he first got picked, because I hadn't scouted this guy at all, I was sitting in my seat like, wow, I root for the worst organization in the history of professional sports.
Mm-hmm.
But something about Young Hansen, man. There's something about the aura that came emanating off of his body as he walked down that set of stairs from the
Yep.
stage and down to greet Adam Silver. But yeah, as once I started digging into his tape that like Blazers fans were posting everywhere, and
Mm-hmm.
I started finding clips of him and all that. He looks like really good. He has a really good feel for the game offensively. Obviously, he's a little bit limited athletically, but he's got good size. He's really good in the post. He has a really good feel for like he can be a legitimate offensive hub with the ball in his hands the time he reaches his prime.
Yeah.
So, um, and like you said, he was a defensive player of the year over in China.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Obviously, not going to be that in the NBA, but going to be like
Who
not
knows?
be negative defensively, like some of the other like really strong
Mm-hmm.
offensive centers that we see. So, is the whole thing where he's like Chinese Jokic going to come to fruition? No, like probably not.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, but I do actually think now that it was a really good pick, even if it might have been a little bit higher than we could have. We could have probably traded a
Mm-hmm.
little bit further back and gotten him, but I like the pick. Um, the Drew Holiday Simons 1-for-1 trade is weird to me. Uh, Holiday's got 3 years on his contract. He's making like just under 40 million a season, and
Yeah.
he's just going to keep getting worse. He's kind of a weird fit on our team. Chauncey Billups is very, very obviously going to have Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp coming off the bench next season again because he's horrible. And
Yeah. Extending Chauncey Billups hurt my heart to see. Like it was just like,
yeah, that was
what are
the
you
worst
doing?
move of our offseason,
Honestly,
especially with how
that
good the
might knock
coaching
your
pool
off
was
season
this year.
down for me.
100% knocks the offseason down for me. I really don't think we've had that good of an offseason outside of like I liked that we traded Simons, but what we got back for him makes me not like it. And
Hmm.
then re-signing Billups was just catastrophic decision. I really think Jan Hanson's like and buying out Aiton are the only two good choices that we've made this
Yeah,
offseason.
yeah. So you had no re-signings, and Young Hansen was your only draft pick. Your only additions was Drew Holiday swapped with Simons, and then trading back for Hansen. You traded back with the Grizzlies. They got Cedric Howard. You go back to 16. You got the 2028 Magic first round pick and 2 second rounders for trading back, which like is a decent haul. Who knows what the Magic look like in 2028? They're probably going to be good, but like that might be the 20th, 22nd pick. Like that's fine. Um, I like I said, I'm a big fan of Young. I think he's going to be good. You got two really solid centers now, which is going to be kind of interesting to see what happens there. But buying out Aiden is huge. I'm really happy you did that because I wanted Klingon to be able to like get the reins and be able to start at center. Um, yeah, I think Billups though is really it hurts his off season. I gave it a C plus. I think you could even knock it down to like a C because of the Billups resigning.
Uh, yeah, Billups re-signing just horrible. Like one of the five worst coaches in the league, probably. His rotations are terrible. He just not as good of an X's and O's guy as he was hyped up to be.
Mm-hmm.
Great defensive coach, but that's really it. Um, Buying out Aiton, I think is going to hurt the team in the very near future because we won't really have that score that we can go to like we had with like we lost probably our top two scoring options.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jeremy Grant's still on my team. Robert Williams is still on my team,
Yep.
which Robert Williams I actually don't actually think he's good. He's just never healthy, and I think he'd have more value somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Grant just isn't good. Probably giving us a D plus. I haven't really liked our off season at all. I definitely think Johnson's like really the only like super big plus for us, and he's still like a product. Like if he ends up being bad, this was a really really bad off season. So
Yeah. Brutal
I
offseason
mean,
if he's bad.
yeah, give it a D plus. Yeah,
Yeah, I think honestly I'm thinking C minus now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more. It's just like
Billups resigning is just such a catastrophically bad move that,
yeah, it's bad for
especially with
sure.
how good the coaching class was,
And
bro.
there's talks about Drew Holiday not wanting to play for the Blazers, which is understandable because like he's got
I
a
don't even blame him. Why would
yeah
you want
he's
to be?
he's
You're
got a
in
short
your late
career left
thirties.
and yeah. And the Blazers want him to stay there to like be a mentor and whatever. I think they should try to trade
Dude,
him.
Scoot's not.
I don't even know what
Yeah,
the
one
trade
hundred
could
percent.
be because like who's
It's
taking
gonna
Drew
take him.
Holidays, but some like dude, the Bucks would probably take him, for something if they can. They probably couldn't trade Kyle Kuzma for him.
Scoot.
That's awesome.
Oh boy, Scoot Henderson might not get to start until he's like 25 years old.
Yeah.
He's just it's so sad. And I actually think looking back, Scoot really wasn't that amazing of a pick. I know hindsight's 2020, but
Hmm.
there was a lot of like negatives in his game that kind of just went unnoticed. We kind of all just got mesmerized by like
Yeah.
what his potential could be because he's so similar to a lot of these explosive guards we've seen in the past.
Totally.
I actually don't think Scoot's going to end up being that good. I
Hmm.
think Sharp is kind of like the big potential guy on our
I'm a
team.
huge Shane
Denny,
Sharp fan. I really like him a lot. I've always liked
forgot.
him, but like yeah.
Yeah, Shaden Sharp is definitely. I think Denny and Sharp are kind of the two guys we have to build around going forward. I think Scoot could be kind of the odd man out
Yeah,
at some point.
I have started to learn over the years as I've gotten a little bit more into scouting and whatever, is that like you said, you can't just look at the potential and be like, oh my god, he could become Russell Westbrook. Like you have to look at how they are right now and the things that they're missing in their game and how like realistic it is that they can add those. Have they shown any ability to add to their game or improve on those areas? Like Scoot
And one
lack
of the
of
big things,
lack of jumpers. He
yeah,
this is the year to address that, no doubt about it.
and I will say his jumper actually did improve last year after
It
the All
did.
Star break.
Yeah.
His he was like actually a legitimately good 3 point shooter after the All Star break last year. So we'll see if that brings its way into this next season.
Mhm.
Like shooting is that big trait that in drafts, like if you don't have like a sign of being able to shoot, it's probably never developed. Like I
Yeah.
can't really think of any player that's ever been not able to shoot and developed a jumper in their
Mhm.
career
That's
outside
why
of like
that's why Rasheer Fleming fell. Like I'm telling you, it's their fear of like if you're not that good of a shooter, like am I just gonna play you to be a good defensive player? Like that's only being a one-sided player is not a thing in the league anymore.
Even Fleming, you said like improved as a shooter his last
Yeah,
season in college.
yeah. So at least
So
there
at
is
least
some
there's
hope
that.
there.
But like if you're a player who's like a Ben Simmons for the most obvious example, who
Hmm.
like can't shoot, can't shoot, can't shoot, never shows any signs that he even wants to shoot, you're never going to be able to shoot. Like
Yeah,
Amen Thompson will probably never be able to shoot.
probably not a three-pointer, but a man is gonna be able to like. I mean, I think he'll develop a mid-range at the very least. He's just got such insane potential that I think he's kind of him and his brother Asar are kind of outliers where I think that like they could develop it, and even if they can't, they're both such insane athletes that like they're very good as it is, which is kind of
Yeah, but
incredible
like when
to
we're just
say.
talking about like the 3-point shooting as a
Yeah,
trait, it's something that just doesn't really develop that well.
yeah.
It's something you like either have coming in or it
Hmm.
gets better and better, or it's you just don't have it.
And we're kind of seeing these like one-sided players. I mean, you're seeing it with Simons just kind of get phased out of the league, where obviously he's the offensive side and has literally the most negative of negative defense, and like nobody wants him because you need to have 3 and D or to have some level of defense and some level of offense. You can't be a one-side cone
Because
on either end.
if you can't play one side of the ball, then you have to build the team so that
Yeah.
that player doesn't affect you on that side of the ball. So like with a guy like Luca, it makes sense. Like you
Mhm.
have one of the greatest offensive supernovas ever.
Yeah.
You can build around his lack of defense.
Yeah. But
A guy
Anthony
like Simons,
Simons, yeah, he's
he's
not.
not bringing you
Yeah.
30 points and 10 assists a game. So you're not building your defense around protecting Anthony Simons because he's
Hmm.
his offense isn't good enough to bring you a championship. So it's
Yeah.
there's just no really place for him in the league.
I don't disagree at all. Anything left about the Blazers to say?
Nope, we suck, and it will continue to be that way for a long, long time.
Hopefully not, but who knows? Moving on to another bad offseason. You have the Kings. They get Neek Clifford.
Oh,
Yeah, they got
they
Neek
signed
Clifford.
Drew Eubanks.
Oh, big.
They signed him.
Uh, the 24th overall pick, they got Neek Clifford, 6'5", 202 out of Colorado State. 23 years
Actually, like
old,
that pick.
probably the most pro-ready guy or one of the most pro-ready guys in the class. He was named after Dominique Wilkins, which is kind of interesting. The third most defensive rebounds per game in the NCAA last year at 8.1. Good spot up movement shooter guy. Really athletic. Kind of relies on that a lot, especially on defense. I see a bit of like a Kyle Kuzma, like not like now because Kuzma's such a negative, but when he was coming in, I can kind of see the comparison a bit. And then
I like him. That was a good pick.
I like Nick Clifford a lot. I don't like it for the Kings, and I'll get into that in a bit. For the 42nd pick, you got Maxime Reynaud, 7-footer out of Stanford. The Skip Prosser Award, which is the top scholar athlete in the ACC. As a senior, he averaged 20, 10.5, and 1.5 blocks on 47, 35, 77. 5.5 threes attempted is kind of a lot. Kind of projects to be a power forward, even though he's 7 foot. Good interior defender, can kind of be a hub a bit. Decent finisher, good passer, skilled guy, whatever. They re-signed nobody. Like you said, they added Drew Eubanks on the minimum. They sign and trade for Dennis Schroeder on a 3-year 45. They trade for Dario Saric and give up Valanciunas, and then they let Jake LaRavia walk. Um, so I'll say about Nick Clifford, I liked him a lot. He was one of my favorite guys in the draft. I just don't really like it for the Kings because I mean, maybe it's because I wanted him to go to a contending team more than more than I wanted him to go to a team like the Kings with no future. But I feel like they're a team that they should. I mean, maybe they need more like literal good, like they're going to be good high floor type guys like Nick Clifford because they don't have that many good players. But it just I feel like they could have gone for somebody with more potential, um, because they just like their team is so bleak. Their outlook is so bleak that might have been smarter. But I think at 24, it was very good value. I think he's going to be a really solid player, like a very good connecting piece for a contender. It's just I did not want to see him go to a bad team like the Kings. The rest of their offseason to me was very bad. Dennis Schroeder, the sign and trade, I think they gave up a second round pick in cash. There was a lot of talk that they were going to give up Malik Monk. I'm very glad they didn't because that would have been awful. But I feel like that deal is kind of like fine. It's a bit of a lot of money, but they don't have a good point guard play, so I get it. Um, and everything else they did was just kind of bad. Dario Saric for Valanciunas swap. You just gave up like a bunch of picks and stuff for Valanciunas at the deadline, and then you kept him for 4 months and you trade him for Saric. Like it just every move they made was just very questionable. Um, and I'm not a big fan of their offseason at all. How did you feel?
Yeah. They had this weird core of Fox, Levine, DeRozan, Sabonis, which
Mm-hmm.
is just like such a weird and just a weird collection of players. I guess Fox and Levine never played
Yeah, I was
together,
about to
but
say yeah.
they were never going to be able to have all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fox was kind of the one out because I think he wasn't planning on staying anyways. I think he wanted to play in San Antonio.
Yeah, he did actually
So
say like I'm going to leave in a year and I'm going to San Antonio, which he totally screwed them over that way because like he could have got they could have gotten a ton of even if it was like I'm gonna leave. Saying only San Antonio just made it so like they got back like the worst of the San Antonio picks and stuff. But whatever.
and that put them in a bad spot. Levine, DeRozan, just not winning players at this point, and I don't even know why the Kings would be trying to win. They both of those guys should be playing for different teams in much smaller roles. Like at this point in his career, DeRozan should be like trying to come off the bench as like a sixth man for a contender, and
Yep.
Veen should be like the third option somewhere. But
Yep.
even Sabonis, like I wouldn't have minded if they moved on from
I wanted
Sabonis. Like,
like that would have been this grade is a D plus for me, and I could be argued even lower, but um if they moved to bonus, this would have been such a higher grade. It's just like this team has no outlook on the future at all. It's like just like mid or good players, but like they don't mesh well at all. They don't have a single actual real point guard. Um, it's just a mess of a team. And trading Sabonis would have like changed the outlook on this team a lot. To like we're looking towards the future, which and you still have Demar and Levine, so you're not fully, but you could move off of them too once you move Sabonis. But it's just like I don't know. I don't know who you even trade Sabonis to. There was a ton of talk about the Blazers, which obviously that's dead at this point. And
God,
yeah, like I don't know who's taking that $50 million deal for a guy who can't play defense at center, but it's just like this the outlook on this team is awful.
yeah, it's ugly. The bright spots on this team are like Keegan Murray and Malik Monk at this
Mm-hmm.
point.
Which like
And
they're fine, but like it's not like it's
yeah,
like oh my
it's like not
god, Keegan
anything really amazing.
Murray, like
Those are like role players on a
yeah.
championship team. So for me, I think I'm with you on this one. I think their willingness to sink with the ship, I'm probably giving it like a D or a D plus.
Yeah. Honestly,
Not a fan.
I'm giving it a D. It's just Lee Clifford makes it not an F. Even the Schroeder deal is like that's kind of a lot of money for Dennis Schroeder, and why are you signing him? There were heavy rumors that they were
Maybe like
trying.
a 36 win team. They're just going to be boring.
Probably not even that good. Um, they there was a lot of rumors that they were trying to get Schroeder and Russ, which is like, what are we doing?
Oh, Russell Westbrook on this team. Please turn it off.
He would. I'm not tuning in. He would have averaged a triple double again though. So that I mean, I would have tuned into
Oh,
that.
God. So horrible.
All right. Well, moving on to a much better offseason. The San Antonio Spurs. Just hit out of the park with basically everything. The second overall pick, Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, 6'5", 213. He shot 48-33 on 14 field goals and 5 threes a game. Set the Rutgers freshman scoring record with 564 points. Just very good vision. Can be a legitimate true point guard. And can lead an offense. We saw it in Rutgers. He was playing outside of Ace Bailey. He was playing with literal bums, like barely even D1 players, and he still kept that roster somewhat afloat. The 3-point shot is a question mark, but like I'm pretty confident that he's going to develop it, especially out of the three guys that they have there, like the three guards that everyone talks about, including Harper. I think that he has the most potential to develop a 3-point shot and be the best player in that room. He's still very young. I think he's like a Cade Harden, somewhere in the middle kind of guy. And I feel like he can reach the heights of at least Cade. Like I'm so high, not just because he went to Rutgers, but I'm so high on Dylan Harper's outlook. I really think that he's going to be like the ideal running mate to be with Wemby long term. Um, at
Yeah.
four,
Uh,
yeah,
I'm not as high on Harper. I do think he's good. I had him third on my board. Just they have like a log jam at guard right now, which I guess is fine for now because Castle and Harper are super young.
hmm
But like eventually someone's gonna have to be the odd man out. Like eventually
yeah.
two of those guys are gonna need to be getting all the minutes. And I would imagine it's probably gonna be De'Aaron Fox. I could also say it's gonna be anyone but Harper, I'd imagine, because they were so unwilling to move off of the second pick.
Fox is on his final year of his deal and is in a UFA next year, so that's kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
so you'd think it's Fox. I think this will be the season where I guess they'll give this season to see how it goes, but
I,
um,
I find it hard to believe that they just let him walk. They probably extend him. I mean, he's only going to be 20. He's 28 right now. He'll be 29 next year. I think that um, they probably extend him this season because it feels a little bit hard to believe that they go into like a Harper Castle year 2 and year 3 backcourt. I mean, we'll see how they are this season, but like I don't know. I feel like Castle might be the odd man out there, but the thing is, then like Harper and Fox are very similar, and so I feel like you kind of have to choose one of those two. Even though I would want to choose Castle, I think you get rid of Fox. But like you said, see how this year goes. I think,
yeah. I also
yeah,
just think Harper and Castle fit better than Harper and Fox do.
yeah,
I think Castle's just more of a can just more naturally play without the ball than Fox could or
hmm
Harper could if he needed to. I think if you're gonna do it that way, you're gonna want Harper to be the one with the ball the most.
yeah.
I think he'll just have a good two-man game with Wemby, and I think it just a core of Harper, Castle, and Wemby going into the future is the
hmm
strongest that they could have.
And
Um,
Harper's not a bad defender. I mean, he's not great defender or anything, but he can hold his own for like a 6'5" guard. He's not bad at all. Whatever. And then at the 114, they drafted Carter Bryant, 6'7",
Another
215 out of
great pick.
Arizona.
I love that pick.
Just a great pick as well. I agree. A rim running, decent 3-point shooter as well. He's not much of a self creator, but they have multiple creators on this team, so they don't really need him to do that. Uh, like elite shot blocker as a wing. Like when I see him, I 100% shot blocking wise see like Tatum and J Dub esque like shot blocking. Um,
He reminded me, like when I watched him play, he actually reminded me of Kamara a lot. I kind of wanted to hit the Blazers to pick him, but
yeah,
he would have
I
been a
agree with
little
that.
redundant. But I'm really excited to watch him on the Spurs. I think he's going to be a really fun player to
Yeah,
watch.
he did foul a little bit. I will say that, like a little bit too much. But he's young at Arizona. Like he'll be. I'm sure that'll get figured out in the NBA. My comp for him is Gerald Wallace. I kind of see a little bit of a 3-and-D
I
level.
mean, they get Gerald Wallace out of him. They'll be
Yeah, right.
a really
Like
strong
they're
core in a
loving
couple of
that.
years.
They re-signed nobody. They added Luke Cornett on a 4-year, $40.7 million with a team option in his age 33 year, and then they got Kelly Olynyk in a trade with the Wizards. They lose Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley in like a second rounder or something in that trade, and then Sandro Mamukelashvili walks to the Raptors. Overall, I'm giving this an A. I think that this was a great offseason. Feels like the Spurs have had consistent great off seasons for a couple years now. Um, they're just building this team like very well and very quickly. It feels like their outlook on the future before Wemby was like Dejounte Murray and like just a kind of bunch of grossness, and they very quickly after getting Wemby rotated into a just a fantastic outlook on their future. I think they're going to be competing for the playoffs this season. By playoffs, I don't necessarily mean top 6 seed. I mean they could be, but that feels like a best case scenario for them. I think they're
Mhm.
probably going to be play in level. I kind of expect them to make the play in, and like I think they're going to be contending within 2 years, 3 years at the latest.
I agree. I think I'm probably going B plus just because I'm really low on Cornet. I thought that was an atrocious signing.
Really, I think that was a good signing.
I really think Cornet is like truly an awful basketball player. So I was really surprised to see him get that much money.
I don't know.
Um,
I think he's gonna.
but
I'm
I
excited for
think they
the.
nailed the draft. So
I'm hoping that we get to see some double big minutes for them next year, because I want to see Wemby at the 4. Dude, that'll be a crazy defensive team. And I also like I kind of was like not necessarily hoping, but I wouldn't have minded KD going to the Spurs. But I am happy that they didn't do that now that the trade has happened and they didn't do it, the Rockets were more like competing right now, ready than the Spurs were, and I didn't want to see the Spurs get rid of the Sohan or Keldon Johnson or um, Devin Vassell or like any of those pieces that are like. I mean, the Spurs have elite depth. They have a whole starting five almost. Basically, their starting five from like 3 years ago is their bench right now, and that's really impressive. Um, and so like this is a really complete
Really good
roster.
team.
Yeah, I like their outlook a lot. All right, moving on to the Raptors. They drafted two players, Colin Murray Boyles at the 109, and he's 6'7" out of South Carolina. He increased his points per game from his first year to his second year by 6.5. Um, just like a big burly type defender. I mean, he's 6'7", 240. He's like a big guy, pretty high IQ. A little bit undersized for the four. I could see him playing the three, and then just adds that Raptors forward depth, which it feels like they always draft for over the last however many years. And then at the 239, they drafted Elijah Martin, 6'2", 210 out of Florida. Kind of a streaky shooter, but a very disruptive defender. Isn't really a true point guard or really even a shooting guard. He kind of played the three a lot, which is kind of crazy because he's 6'2", so he's going to have to play a guard position in the NBA. He's a good rebounder, really good hustler, like a gritty type defender. Decent picks. I don't know. I like Colin Murray Boyles. I didn't really love him for the Raptors. I kind of would have liked him to go somewhere else. Um,
I was wondering that there's that video of him going fuck when he gets
yeah,
drafted,
yeah.
and like I was wondering if that actually had anything to do with him getting picked by the Raptors, or if
He said
I don't know.
afterwards that it was just more of like a. Cause Zach LaVine did the same thing when he got drafted. It was just kind of like a like, oh my god, I like, got drafted. Like fuck, like, took like that. That
Yeah,
was
that's what I was thinking
18
when I
years,
first saw
whatever.
it. That
Like,
kind of seemed like what it was based off his facial
yeah.
expression.
It would be really
As he
funny
didn't
if you
really
were
look
like,
like pissed.
God damn it, I'm going to Toronto.
Yeah, like that's well, I wouldn't blame him for that, but that's like I don't know. The Raptors are just a weird team right now.
Yeah,
Like I feel like they're almost like the Sacramento Kings of the East. They're just younger.
a little bit. A lot more money
Very
invested
weird
into that
collection
team
of
right now.
talent.
They
Just
yeah, they re-signed Jakob Pertl on a 3-year, 84 million. It's 28 per. It's a lot of money. I mean, he was
that's what
good
it
last
is.
year, but it's
I don't
just
love
like
that.
kind of a lot. Garrett Temple on a 1-year minimum. They add Sandro Mamukelashvili on a 2-year, 5.2 million player option in the second year, and then they lost nobody. Um, like this team is just it's like they have so much money invested into their starting lineup. Um, Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, Scotty Barnes is making 38 million and it's only scaling up. Brandon Ingram's making 30 million and it scales up. Emmanuel Quickly's making 32 and a half. RJ Barrett's making 27 and that scales up over the next 2 years. Pirtle's now making 19 and a half, but it's going to be like almost 30 down the line. Like it's a lot of money for their starting lineup. All four are making
It's not a good
20 to
starting lineup.
30.
Like
Yeah, no, there's one all-star there. Maybe two
this
with
isn't a
BI.
playoff
Like,
team,
I mean, in the East, it might be.
dude. I don't know. That's a very very funky team.
Yeah, there's not a
Like
lot. There's
I saw
not.
something about RJ Barrett. Like
Mhm.
they might trade him too.
Yeah, they were trying to do it. They were trying to do IQ too. Those were that's the two players they were shipping when they were trying to get KD. But they wouldn't give up Hurdle, so like they couldn't do it. Which like like what,
It's this
bro?
gimmick that these teams have, bro. Like
Yeah, it's so like a 30-year-old center. I can't give him up. It's strange. But yeah, like not a lot of 3-point shooting between Barrett, Quickly, Ingram, Barnes, and Pirtle. It's just a funky team, like you said. I don't know how they're gonna fit. Um, I like CMB, but like I didn't really want him to go to the Raptors. I kind of wanted him to go to the Hawks. Like it's just another player that is like I feel like a NBA ready kind of guy, even though he only played for 2 years in college. And I don't know. The Raptors are just not a contending ready team. I gave him a C minus. I honestly, yeah, C minus seems fair.
gave him a C minus as well.
Yeah. All right, moving on to last two teams. We got the Utah Jazz. who
Oh
just
boy.
fantastic offseason, just absolutely killed it because they got the goat Ace Bailey at the fifth overall pick, 6'8", 203 at Rutgers. Averaged 17 and a half, 7 rebounds, 2 stocks in his rookie season, shooting 46 and 35 percentage. Um, elite offensive rebounder, like kind of a questionable defensive rebounder, which like he's definitely going to need to change, which is very unique. You usually don't see that. It's usually the opposite way around. Um, One of the best shot makers I've like ever seen ever in college. It's just like a very unique ability to just hit any fadeaway, pull up, whatever shot you can. I mean, obviously, shooting percentages weren't amazing, but also horrible Rutgers team. Um, Basically, a non-passer that's going to have to change a little bit, which he has shown a little bit in summer league so far. Like he had like a game with 3 assists and a few like the other game he had like a lot of potential assists. Um, so maybe he's working on that. Elite cutter, very underrated IQ. I felt like at times people shut on that a lot during last season that he is like a dumb player or whatever. It felt like he was always in the right spot, consistently cutting, getting backdoor cuts every game. A really good defender. I feel like elite upside. My comp for him is what Michael Porter Jr. was supposed to be pre back injury. Um, like crazy good shot maker, not a great passer, but like good defender. And then MPJ obviously like the defense went away. Um,
Um,
you want to talk about Ace Bailey before I get into the other ones?
I'm not super high on Ace Bailey. I think it was weird the Jazz picked him after he like just outright said like I think the Jazz were one of the two teams he's like, dude,
Yeah,
I really don't want to play here.
yeah, it was them and the
Um,
Hornets
so for me, from the
and
Jazz's
Philly
management
too, which was
perspective,
so strange.
from the management perspective, that's very very risky to take a player who could just like get up, leave after
Mm-hmm.
his rookie contract's over, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yep.
So um, maybe he changes his attitude. I mean, he is like 18-year-old kid,
Yeah.
so he could very easy like he's still growing in his
That
mind. Like
that's
his
how I
mind
feel
won't even
about
be
it.
developed for another 7 years.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
maybe he matures a little bit while he's there. He's going to be surrounded by a bunch of guys who probably want him to be in the locker room. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that environment will make him want to be there a little bit more. Maybe that will improve how he plays. I think he's got great talent. I think he's got a play style
Jamf
that might
helps
be a
you
little weird. I could
succeed with
definitely see
Apple
him
device
being a
management.
playoff
Wait, that's
dropper,
not.
but I don't know if we'll really get a playoff sample from him for a while, especially if he stays in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't really be able to confirm anything about that. But I also really liked Walter Clayton.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good draft pick for them. I really think he's going to be a good NBA player.
Yep.
Overall, I think their draft is solid. Like I'm not going to sit here and say Ace Bailey's a bad pick. Like he's still really, really strong talent, even if I'm not as high on him as others are.
Mm-hmm.
And he's definitely worth the fifth overall pick in the draft. The issue for me is that you're taking a really huge risk from a management perspective, drafting a guy who's said that he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Yeah, Walter Clayton at the 118. I got to see him play at Iona one time. That was cool. Uh, Averaged 18, 4 and 4. He scored Florida record single season 713 points. Um, and or that was over 2 seasons, I think, which is the record. Sorry, no, that was the single season. Over 2 seasons, 1,346 points, which is a record for them over 2 seasons. I like his comp for me. I mean, he shot 38%, 38.5% on 8 attempts from three. Like a good playmaker, super clutch. I totally see Jamal Murray for him. Like it fits very well for me. Um, then at the 53rd pick, they got John Tonji out of Wisconsin. I don't know. He had 41 points and 21 free throws against Arizona, and he shot basically 50, 40, 90, whatever. They re-signed nobody. They add Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love from the Heat and a 2027 Clippers second rounder. The use of Nurkic trade from the Hornets, where they also gave up a second rounder. They lose John Collins to the Clippers and Johnny Juzang they waived. Colin Sexton to the Hornets and Jordan Clarkson they bought him out. I gave it a C plus. Outside of Ace Bailey and Clayton, feels like a bad offseason. But I think that those two
Uh,
players are going to be good.
think I agree with you. C plus. I think I like the draft enough to where I can put it a little bit above an average, but
Mhm.
the moves that they made outside of the draft, I would agree. Not really that impressed by them.
Yeah, it feels like they could have gotten better value for John Collins too. Like Kevin Love, they're reportedly going to try to buy out, which makes sense. And then Kyle Anderson is just like whatever. Like it's just like such a like non-player. It's just very very strange. But whatever. Moving on
Uh,
to the Wizards, the final team that we have here. They drafted three players: Trey Johnson at the 106, 6'5", 190 out of Texas. Averaged 23 and 3 on 43, 40, 87. Um, he scored 39 versus Arkansas, beating Katie's rookie single game record of 36. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year. Needs to bulk up a bit, but is a really crazy good shot maker from all three levels. Elite pump fake, jab step, blow bys. He's like good at all the ISO stuff. Um, Two very unique comps for me. I see Allen Houston or Kentucky Malik Monk.
Allen Houston. What a pull.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I really like Trey Johnson. I really like this pick. I was kind of hoping Bailey would fall to the Wizards because I know he wanted to play there,
I
but
wanted him to go there too.
um, yeah, Trey Johnson, really good player, and I'm excited to see how he plays. I'm kind of hoping the Wizards move some of these geezers that they have on their team. CJ McCollum does not need to be playing for a team that's going to win like 28 games.
Hmm.
Um, Marcus
Yeah,
Smart, Chris
yeah,
Middleton, like those guys don't need to be there anymore. So
yeah. Well, Chris Middleton picked up his like 35 million player option. Yeah. So CJ
I don't love
McCollum
him.
has 1 year left with this $30 million deal, and then he's gone. So
Okay.
obviously he's leaving after this year. Chris Middleton will leave after this year. Marcus Smart, I don't even know what he has left. Which the Bulls were offered Marcus Smart and like a first rounder for Lonzo back at the deadline, and they said no because they didn't want to take on Marcus Smart. And so
The
now they have
Bulls.
Isaac Okoro, but whatever. The 243, they draft Jameer Watkins out of Florida State, 6'5", 215, 24 years old, out of New Jersey, so he's going to be awesome. He averaged nearly 3 stocks a game, 18 and a half points. Good, good defender, good IQ on offense, can play on and off the ball, whatever. They add Chris Middleton, who picks up his $33 million player option. They add Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley from the Spurs. They add CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk from the Pelicans trade, which then they flipped Kelly Olynyk. They get Dylan Jones from the Thunder, and then they got Cam Whitmore from the Rockets. They lose Sadiq Bey to the Pelicans and Jordan Poole to the Pelicans. Anthony Gill they waived, and then they trade for and then away Kelly Olynyk, like I said before. Um, I did not put a grade in for them, so I will decide it on the fly here. But overall, I kind of like this offseason. I think that their draft, Trey Johnson's good. Oh, I didn't even mention they drafted Will Riley at the 21st pick, 6'8" out of Illinois, like a really a big guard. Maybe can play forward too. He was supposed to be point guard for Illinois, but then Yakachonis kind of like took that over, and so they forced him to play forward a bit. And so like he's a really good ISO scorer, but the stuff that you were expecting him to work on at Illinois, like handle, kind of like leading an offense, stuff like that, he wasn't really able to work on as much. I've seen people comp him to like Cam Reddish. I didn't watch Illinois that much, um, so yeah, I'm not too
Boy.
sure. But like apparently he's a really good cutter. It's like all the stuff I've been reading. So yeah, what was your opinion on this Wizards offseason?
Uh, all right. I liked the Trey Johnson pick. Full trade was whatever. It seems like they're just trying to get off a bunch of 1 year contracts in the off season. Now that you point out how much time they have left on
Mm-hmm.
them.
I like the Cam Whitmore
Yeah,
trade. I think that trade was awesome.
that's what I was trying to think of. The Whitmore trade, I think, is a good high upside thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't ever really going to get any real playing time in Houston. It seems like he was a little bit of a head case there. It seems like he was just pissed about not being able to get into games. So when he did get into games, it didn't really seem like he was trying.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's something that fixes itself in Washington. Um, As far as it's just all right. I'd give it
Mhm.
like a C plus probably. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I think I would say C plus, maybe B minus. I like Trey Johnson a lot. I feel like he's sort of a Jordan Poole esque type of player, but like um, I think that he could be better than him. He's like a even more high flying level scorer. And then Will Riley seems like he's pretty solid. Marcus Smart is also on an expiring deal after this year, which is insane that the Bulls didn't
Okay.
want to trade for him because Lonzo has 2 years left. But whatever. The Bulls suck, man. They really suck. Uh, but Dylan Jones, who knows? I mean, he sucked for us. Honestly, he was trash. Blake Wesley and Malachi Branham, 2K legends, awesome off the bench for the Spurs. But I like the Cam Whitmore trade a lot. It's super low risk, high reward. Um, and then yeah, like the McCollum trade and makes sense. They're trying to just get off the deals as fast as they can with the Middleton, McCollum, and Marcus Smart. They're going to open up the books crazily for next offseason, which I don't know who's going to be a free agent. I can check really quick right here. You're looking at uh, Luca, Trey Young, Harden, De'Aaron
Be
Fox.
shocked if Luka even
He,
entertains leaving
he,
LA.
he won't touch free agency. Porzingis, Hartenstein, like Andrew Wiggins. But he's gonna accept his 30 million player option. Like Tobias Harris, I don't know. There's a whole lot of like Anthony Simons. I guess could be one of the names out there. Mikal Bridges, he'll resign. This is supposed to be like a because it's like the top names: LeBron, Bradley Beal, KD, Levine, Luca. But a lot of those guys, like Levine, has a 49 million player option. Are you really telling me he's going to decline that? No way.
Beal's player option is 57 million?
Yes, dude.
Bro, like
Dude, the Suns are about to
what
buy out like a
this
hundred.
contract in?
The Suns are about to buy out $100 million for 2 years,
What in the world is that?
dude.
That is horrible.
It's so funny, man.
Pro-
This
yeah,
con-
I mean Trey
dude,
Young's not going to hit free agency. He has a $49 million player
Bradley
option,
Beal signed this contract in 2022-23. It was a 5 year, 251 million.
dude. Oh
Holy
man,
shit,
that
man!
Bradley Beal might have like
The
worst
greatest agent
contract.
ever.
Yeah, I mean,
This
what
agent should
is
go to the Hall of
this,
Fame.
man? Out of these unrestricted free agents, I mean, KD's not going anywhere. LeBron's probably done.
Yeah, KD's gonna resign.
John,
LeBron probably
talking about
retires, and
John
he's not going to the
Collins,
Washington
Cal Bridges.
regardless. Like, yeah, Bradley Beal
Next
is
week he's done.
probably
He's done.
might be a free agent next season because I'm sure he signs like a $1 or $2 million or 1 or 2 year deal. Like Luca could touch free agency, but I don't think he will. Trey Young will resign, likely. I would be shocked if Trey Young leaves, but I think it's maybe possible,
Well, yeah, his
unlikely.
player option's way too big.
Um,
Although
49 million though.
he might be trying to
If
reach an
he hit
extension.
if he touched free agency, he would get 49 again. Um,
I say
Harden,
you're right.
like like he'll stay probably. It's just like it's kind of how it always is with free agency. You look at it and you're like, this is such a stacked class. We gotta load up. But then all of these names are just gonna either re-sign or like I mean most of the big names are just gonna re-sign, and then you're dealing with like probably Hartenstein is the biggest name next year, or Andrew Wiggins, or like Chris Middleton, maybe De'Aaron Fox. Like I guess it's De'Aaron Fox, and it's like, are the Wizards going all out for that, and you just got Trey Johnson for nothing? Like it just kind of puts them in a funky spot. They need like a
Yeah.
forward or a big, and not what is being offered here. Whatever.
They have a lot of young talent on their team right now too. I think they've had a couple good drafts in a row now.
Yeah,
Couple
they're
years away from being a couple years away, but
yeah, it's how they've been for a little while now. Their depth chart at the
that's
moment: Bub Carrington, McCollum, Chris Middleton, Bilal, Alex Sarr, and then Trey Johnson, Marcus Smart, Cam Whitmore, Keyshawn George, and Tristan Vucevic off the bench. And they got Corey Kispert, but
that's a
they're trying to trade Kispert, is what I saw.
yes, sir. Yeah, I mean that's a solid like young core for the
Mm-hmm.
future, but like they're probably still going to be one of the bottom feeders in the East next season,
Yeah,
even with how bad the conference is.
and like another thing that I've kind of realized over the last year or two, and I had this like I was really thinking about this like a month or so ago, is it's really hard to build a team like the Wizards are doing when you have like all of these young, similar to the Blazers, where you have all of the young guys all building together, like Bub, Sar, Bilal, Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, like Cam Whitmore, like those are 6 guys that are all trying to develop and all need the ball to develop, and it's kind of hard to have like linear development through your entire team at the same time. And so that's why it's
Yeah.
a little bit questionable to see like how likely is it that they actually hit on like those picks are all hits and they all become whatever you were expecting them to be. I really like Bub though, and Keyshawn George is pretty good too, and I'm always gonna be a Bilal fan, and I do like this Wizards team a lot. It's just if they can actually hit the development peaks that they kind of expect them to. That's a very long podcast. Anything else that you wanted to hit on?
Sacramento Kings hate watches next season. Made the wrong choice signing Drew Eubanks. Welcome to the hate watch list.
AJ
that's
Mitchell.
it.
AJ Mitchell got taken out of summer league because he was playing so well. Just
Good
pointing that
sign.
out.
Thunder,
Also,
another ridiculous contract.
Bryce Sensabaugh has been hooping. I'm pretty sure he got taken out too because he was so good. He's been fantastic. Pretty sure Cooper Flag plays, I think, tonight, so that's kind of exciting.
Against Bronny.
Oh, yeah. They
Bronny
did
James.
for the first time ever. They don't do the first versus the second pick. They do the first pick versus last year's 55th pick. It's awesome. But yeah, very good podcast. I'm excited that we got to go over the draft and off season because it was kind of a long time coming. It's been like 2 weeks, but
it's like 2-1.
Yeah, a little bit.
2-1.
I don't know what the next one will be because it's kind of a dead period for NFL and NBA, but I'll figure it out over the next week or so.
Top 100 NBA players going in brutal detail on each selection.
We're doing an all-time draft. Whatever. We'll figure it out. Until next time.